All right, good evening, everybody. We are back to Old World tonight. I just need a second to open it up. I don't believe I got rid of the. I don't believe I got rid of the streamer mode, but I am going to need a second here just to make sure everything's set up properly. I wanted to start a little bit earlier, but life is the way that it is. I had a brutal night last night, and doing my best to try and keep as focused as I can. But we'll still do a full run for tonight. But I am feeling a little weary. So we will. I'm getting a little conscious of the fact that it's not fun for people to have long introductions for YouTube videos. I do want to get at least a few preliminaries out of the way, so I apologize for that, but at the very least I'll start on the gameplay screen. So this is Old World. This game has been out for a while, actually. I first got to play it back when it was an Epic exclusive, and Mohawk very kindly provided a key for that. But Hooded Horse helped bring this game to Steam, and with that I've taken over publishing duties for Old World, at least on Steam. I'm assuming probably that would be Epic as well, but I have no idea. I don't know if anybody's talked about exactly what the contract was. And of course, this has also meant a bunch of DLC as well. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity twice over to share this game with you. In fact, I'm playing it more on Steam because I mean, over the life of the game, there was a streamer mode, but I actually played this a lot less than I maybe would have wanted to, or I would argue was even appropriate. I do feel a bit bad that this game didn't quite get as much attention as I originally wanted to give it. And part of that was actually a function of the copyright claims. They were fairly aggressively enforced by the rights holders, which is fine. I mean, again, like, if you've made something, someone like me, I probably shouldn't be earning money off of somebody else's work. I'm obviously grateful that Hooded Horse and Mohawk have given permission for me to create content from this game, but I'm certainly not entitled to it, and certainly Philip Glass is not, Philip Glass is not not under any obligation to give me, give me the use of his music for the video game. So just the drawback is it did create some difficulty in terms of being able to get the videos out, and sometimes on the margins that will mean the difference between covering a game or not. But obviously that speaks to Mohawk's engagement and their ability and their willingness to accommodate some of the needs that come up in terms of covering a game. But yeah, with all of that in mind, I have been given a key for promotional purposes. This is something that you should say whenever you are playing something that's been given for promotional purposes. I haven't been asked to say anything about it, but it's something you should know. And I have now fulfilled that obligation. Also, just in terms of setup, so I upgraded my computer some time ago, and I for some reason I thought that there was a cloud save of some kind, and in this case, that didn't turn out to be true. So I have made it to I think it's the Punic Wars as the third scenario. In any case, I have lost a little bit of progress, and part of what I'm doing here is recovering that progress. So we're probably going to finish this one. If I wanted, I could achieve a bronze victory, but I figure, might as well do it right? So I have also wanted to be a little bit more deliberate in terms of my movements and my choices this time around. I always say that, and I always wind up not doing it that way, but we'll do our best. And hopefully we'll make good progress, if not complete the second scenario. So part of this actually was also inspired by the fact that with the Sacred and the Profane DLC, the most recent DLC they've added there was Neoplatonism added to the game. I mean, there's other figures and other movements added as well. It's not just a Neoplatonist, DLC, but I did a couple of classics courses, specifically classical philosophy. One of the profs I had was, I believe he edits or at least helps with the commentators on Aristotle series, which at least used to be headed up by Richard Sorabji. He may have taken that over now. But in any case, I did get to read a little bit of Neoplatonism, and one of the reasons I like Old World so much is it really captures some of the things I liked about civilization, which was sometimes my first glimpse or my first exposure to certain concepts from history. And in this particular case, it got me. So I've got my Neoplatonist reader. Actually, I have it right here. I won't go I won't do everything, but for Plotinus they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14 of the Enneads. They've got some items from Porphyry, Iamblichus, and then a bit of Proclus. So a fine selection. It's about 100. What is it? 300, almost 400 pages. Let's say 350 pages, including or not including the index and references and such. But I thought it would be kind of neat to pick up. There's been a fairly recent full translation of Plotinus, the Enneads, and Porphyry's Life of Plotinus by University of Toronto professor Lloyd Gerson, who I've actually seen speak. He came to UBC while I was there. And I will confess, a lot of the discussion was too advanced for me, but sometimes it's fun to sort of sit in there and be in a room full of experts and try and follow as closely as you can with these things. But because it was sort of a familiar name, and I thought it might be nice to try and dig a little bit deeper, although there's a lot for me to mine out of the Neoplatonic reader. I did go and do a used book order for the Plotinus work. Now, unfortunately, the one that I got was translated by Stephen McKenna, which is interesting. There's some reasons why that is an interesting translation on its own. This is actually one that inspired William Butler Yeats, among other figures. Hello, Index Gnome. So it's a very fine translation in its own respect, but I do believe, in fact, I think McKenna's complaints about the reception for it was a focus too much on its style as opposed to its content. Because as far as he was concerned, Plotinus he felt a great attachment to Neoplatonic philosophy and wanted to communicate it. And I think to a large extent was responsible for a resurgence of interest in it. But the reason why I'm going on this long digression before going too far into Carthage, obviously this is this particular moment is well in advance of anything that the Neoplatonists would be doing. But one of the reasons why I wanted to go on this digression is that it's not just the historical subject, but I actually think some of the character, some people call them the role-playing elements, but whatever you want to define them as, some of the elements of Old World are bringing some of the things that I really first got attached to in terms of 4X games, specifically historical 4X games. Obviously, if it's a science fiction setting, there's interesting ideas in their own right, but maybe not ones that, not the same as the historical ones. But Old World, I think, probably doesn't quite get enough credit for it. Obviously, it has a lot of innovation in terms of the 4X genre, but to me, a very important part of that experience of historical 4X games has been this gateway to finding history interesting and finding a way to sort of get a grip on some interesting ideas. And in the case of Old World, I really feel like it's given a new way of engaging with ideas that, I don't know, just it kind of feels like every generation, or at least every few generations, there's sort of a new interest, a new resurgence in certain ideas. And it would be hard for me to point to where I would, say, like, I pick up Plotinus and say, ah, yes, and this is how I live my life differently because of it. Maybe that's a problem, right? Maybe the purpose of philosophy like that is to bring about a different change. But I still think there's some interest in studying the ancient world and reading it, and particularly understanding it as an influence on things that would have come later. So it is something I wanted to say about Old World, just because in the end I sort of feel like it's present, and I feel that it's acknowledged to a certain degree, but maybe not as much as the focus on the gameplay mechanics, which are wonderful. But I think one of the things that really makes this game sing is the fact that it can actually be a gate to interesting you in other topics. Oh, actually, Index Gnome, this will be... I don't know how far you like going down rabbit holes like this, but this weekend I had the highly questionable project of implementing a bfunge interpreter. It was an education. I was kind of worried that would happen in both cases, but we lived. So news arrives from abroad that Pitane the Libyan is dead. Queen Mada now leads the Libyans, and Sanpal the Witty has converted to Carthaginian paganism. So the first thing I want to do is protect my scouts. Now, unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be any kind of a... There doesn't really seem to be any kind of a... like, the best option would be if there were trees. So I don't believe the olives count. There should be some kind of a status in friendly or neutral trees. Yeah, so that counts as hill. I could be kind of cheesy and like try and find... Oh, well. There you have it. Yeah, so that's the symbol that I'm looking for. I was originally going to try... Well, out of curiosity, if I were to try... so if I were to try to run like this... Now, on its own, they would... It doesn't seem like they would be able to attack me, but it is worth saying that they could also spend orders to try and run me down. So my best bet, honestly, is just to do this move. Alright, next up we want to try and take out Alpha Centauri, the most important 4X game for me, the 4X that made you a lover of that type of game. That's funny, actually, because my own interest in Alpha Centauri is similar, but not the same. So one of the really special... So I was familiar with 4X before, but Alpha Centauri was really special because it was the first time I'd sort of seen a 4X game move beyond history. And I think there's something really exciting about how they took philosophy as sort of this sort of pillar for the ideas. And it's probably even more so than the history of civilization responsible for me seeking out certain things in a library and reading them at a time when they would have the most impact. And as a consequence, that is still a very special game for me. What I also didn't realize was that it was actually my first exposure to a motion picture called Baraka. So I'll just take a second here and okay, so if for those of you who are not familiar with bfunge, the best I could describe it would be it's a 2D programming language. But yeah, it's one thing I really respect about Alpha Centauri and Sid Meier's Civilization Beyond Earth is that I think they're a very good example of a story well told in a 4X setting, and you don't normally associate 4X with storytelling. I think Old World does a good job of telling these small stories, and that is not damning with faint praise. It's hard to do stuff like that, right? Like, I like the fact that Old World gives me a number of decisions that I care about quite a bit, specifically as a ruler. And in fact, I would argue it does a better job than Crusader Kings at giving me an incentive to behave in a way that is consistent with what my individual interests are, as opposed to my interests as a player of a long-term game. I think that is another item which is maybe hard to point out in the context of a review. But if you play a lot of games like this, you will understand that it's not something that you can take for granted. But in any case, one of the things that I admire a lot about Alpha Centauri, and even Civilization Beyond Earth, which I really feel did not get the credit that it deserved, was that it told a science fiction story that I cared a lot about. And in fact, the last time I played Beyond Earth, because of what had happened to me in a previous game, it created this very significant moment. And I really fought hard to make sure that a certain outcome didn't happen, because I sort of knew what the stakes were. And it's rare to get that in a game, even a game that's specifically trying to tell a good story. You can't always rely on that. So I honestly, Alpha Centauri. Obviously, like if I play Alpha Centauri now, I've come to rely on certain things like what Old World does, like what Sid Meier's Civilization 6 does. Overall, I tend to think games get better over time. I realize that is not always a popular opinion, but I think it's true. But even with that said, I really do admire those games for what they do, and oh, this is good. And yeah, the story side of it is just such a huge part to me. But in the end, it was ultimately just kind of the little wrapper that they put things in so that they could deliver the payload of fascinating ideas. Okay, I should heal this guy, but let's see if I can find other things to do with my units first. So for instance, I'd like to... There's the ruins. Okay, you've discovered Mylita Island. So I'm gonna cycle through some of the units. Okay. You're now known as Bostar the Mason. Your wife has given birth to a son, Prince Barashtart. So, first of all, let's see. He's idle and can be sent on a mission, and we have got dyes, which I believe we've already made the... Yeah, we've already made the Magonids happy. Okay. So one thing I want to do is find a way to get a body onto the island to satisfy the 7 ancient ruins. The 7 pastures and camps is a more immediate and pressing concern. And clearly I need to defend my territory. So I think we're in a war. Let's deal with war matters first. I think we probably need to pull... No, we've got enough time for the settler. This is a little bit of a risk, but I think it's worth... I think it's worth taking. Okay, this does more damage, so this means I can retake the city site. So that's military matters taken care of. I think it's better for me to manage my resources first. So I think an Odeon... I think Odeon is reasonable here. Now, what are they recommending? So the theater's an interesting one. I would have thought maybe here would be more appropriate. We also have the option of a barracks, which... honestly, both of them seem like good choices. I think I'll build the barracks just because that might help me with my boats. Okay, that's not helpful. So I have 2 adjacent barracks. I don't think there's too much for me to do there right now. There is something of a temptation to build some kind of a quarry here. Alternatively, I could build a quarry here. So this quarry gives 5.5. This quarry gives 6. Now it is close to an urban tile, so maybe I don't want to give up that urban tile. This would be good for iron. Well, my iron production isn't quite what it needs to be, so maybe that's the better call here. Although this could be another... honestly, this could be another source of... another set of lumber mills for me, so maybe I'll hold off on that. Huh. It's a little more cramped than I thought. So I can't build a stronghold yet. As much as I would like to. I may be at a point where I can't actually do anything with this unit. So we're going to hold off on them for now. So we'll skip you. I'll probably skip them. Now may be a time to heal this unit. Okay, yeah, so there's a little bit of cleanup I can do. So heal that unit. I feel like it's reasonable to go investigating. I feel like it's useful to go investigating with my ship. At some point, I'm going to need to figure out a way to sort of set down the anchor to connect the 2 regions. Maybe an idea just to do that here. So we'll have another bireme that we can set up, and we can send this. Explorer. We've learned a lot about game development over the years, and some things are possible due to improvement in technology. Yeah, that's exactly where I'm going from it. There was a tweet that I put out, which I wasn't expecting too much in terms of a response. I was hoping for some kind, though. Let me get the exact wording, and I can unpack a little bit about what I meant by that. So the question that I had here was, so among the developer types or interested enthusiasts who might see this, how much do you think it would cost to make XCOM UFO Defense today? As in, you are attempting to make the game as it was in 1994, although XCOM doesn't exist, so you can't just copy, in 2023. And then I just added, there's another part to this, but I have no idea how these things get budgeted, so I'm interested in what people have to say when they think about this problem. I'm perfectly capable of Googling. So essentially what I was trying to do here was avoid people... So like the budget for XCOM is... that's on the Wikipedia page. So the question here is not to get people to look up what the budget for XCOM was back when it was developed. It was to get people to think, what would it take, if you can't just say, okay, this game called XCOM exists, we're just going to copy that. What I'm trying to say is that, you need to sit down and think about how a game like this might work. But the thing I was interested in was, once you take that kind of for granted, what is your estimate based on what you have access to? So I'll actually just do a little bit of calculating right now. hopefully this... Yeah, okay. So, like, one of the things that I can do... So the thing to remember is that, I think it was Mythos Games, anyways, it's Julian Gollop's company. Basically, they'd worked for a while. Like, this is something that it wasn't the first game that they'd ever made. The budget that's stated in the Wikipedia article is 115,000 British pounds. And I'm trying to actually find the date in which this stuff got started, because the game was released in 1994, I think. Okay, so initial demo was actually 1991. Well, okay, so I'll try 1990. I don't want to spend too much time on this example, but... So, if we take 1991 as the... I don't believe it was a one-man job. I know it was a small team, but I'm fairly certain it was more than just Julian Gollop. I believe his brother did some work on it, actually. But I definitely know that there was a fairly large... I do know there was a fairly small team on that, if I recall. So it says the original contract for the game was to be completed in 18 months. In the course of its development, the game was nearly cancelled twice. In the first instance, due to the company's financial difficulties, the second time under pressure from Spectrum Holobyte after it acquired Bill Seeley's shares in Microprose in 1993. Refers to a quality assurance team which has 3 people on it. Oh, you meant what it would take today. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I was thinking more in terms of a dollar value, but I'm just doing some estimates here. So if we take the 115,000 in terms of what it was stated in the Wikipedia page, in real terms, 248,239 and 52 British pounds in terms of 2023 dollars. If we say we want to use 1993, it's 231,429.60. So, I mean, let's face it, $17,000 is not nothing. So, it does kind of matter what year you care about here. But essentially, we're looking at something of roughly around, a quarter to a fifth of a million British pounds. And then, actually, I should figure out what the so, and then you add another 25% to turn that into US dollars. So about $300,000 US. No clue what a game dev job pays in the US. Well, it also depends what you're doing, because I know there are some people who I've talked to who are actually very comfortable. They're doing better than I am, actually. And I have what I would consider to be a fairly high-skilled and like, respectable job. So I'm not entirely sure that the idea of, like, game jobs universally underpaying is entirely true, but... Again, like, it depends on individual experience, right? If I'm talking, the person I wound up talking with, I do know is a fairly senior role. So I think with anything, if you're in a top job, you're probably doing quite well. But anyways, this is taking longer than I had intended. The main thing that I wanted to illustrate here, right, was that, okay, so XCOM as it currently is, with its pixely art, with its enemies that run away for an eternity because the AI doesn't want to lose, like, everything the way that XCOM is, if you were to do what they did, basically what they did cost about $300,000 US today. And the question would be, could you create an experience like that? And I mean identical to that, right? So you're not you can cut the corners in terms of the art. You can do all of the sorts of imperfections that you see in old games. And the question, essentially what I was trying to get to with that would be the idea, would such an experience cost $300,000 to create today? And again, this is why I highlighted the idea that XCOM doesn't exist, because there is a certain part which is hard to quantify, where you just kind of sit down and think about the problem and try to get a good reading on like what's possible or what's fun. Because I'm not a game developer, but I absolutely understand that for a very large part of a game's development, it is straight up not fun, and everybody's convinced that it's going to fail. But the main point that I was kind of trying to get at is this quality change, which is essentially what you were talking about, Index Gnome. You don't need to build your own engine anymore. Like, building your own engine is something that happens, but like the whole idea of just building tools to make a game is a bit of a, like, that's a thing some people do. Some people are maybe condemned for doing it because it's wasteful, or other people do it and it's unusual. For everybody else, right, like the engine thing is a solved problem, right? For most people, it's perfectly fine to just use Unity or Unreal. This uses Unity, for instance. And, if you happen to be a communist, maybe you'll like Godot or something. No. Godot's actually very popular in the local game dev scene. But, that's a whole bunch of work that is part of that, 18-month contract or whatever it was. But the other thing is, of course, is that Gulp's company had already made games. Like, I think they'd made Laser Squad by that point. So it's also not like they're starting from scratch. They have some existing technology that's going into the creation of that game. But the main point here is just, what it takes to make a game today isn't the same as what it was yesterday. And I like it that people are asking these questions, but I think sometimes they're missing the more important part. Like, so some people are talking about, like, games with a higher price sell better. And then I think there's, like, if you know what a Giffen good is in economics, like, I don't think anybody specifically says Giffen good. I think anybody who knows what a Giffen good understands why this isn't a good example. But it's sort of this idea that, yeah, if you charge more, your game's more respectable. And it's like, well, it's kind of the other way around, right? Like, the higher quality, the higher value game is able to command that price. I've personally seen people who try to do a premium price and it hurts their sales because people look at it and say it is absolutely not worth that. Some people looked at, like, the default donation amount to the channel here and said I'm not paying that. They actually didn't donate, which is completely fine, right? Like, I'm not expecting people to do that default value. The big reason for that, for setting it to a silly high number, like, it's not like $200 or anything like that, but like, the idea is that Twitch has put a lot of money and effort into convincing you that a channel is worth $5, and I'd much prefer somebody to reflect on what they think this stuff is worth, as opposed to just automatically defaulting to the $5 value. And again, if you put it really low, people are going to default to the 5. If you put it too high, then people are going to change it, right? You're going to say, I don't like you that much, and move down, which again is totally fine, but it's probably not $5. So the thing is, Twitch just did a different thing to stop me from getting donations now. So, but yeah, no, it's like, it's a whole conversation. It's a very worthwhile one to have. But I think one of the things is that, like, when you are talking about what it costs to make games, and whether it's easier or harder, it's really important to control for things like quality and, like, especially, like, there's an article on game development costs spiraling out of control. And to a certain extent, they're right. Like, if you take a look at the dollar values, they exceed inflation. But one of the big problems is we're starting to get into the problem now of what the box office is running into, or what like quarterly reports are getting into. Everybody says the laziest headline that you can read is, supermarkets making record profits, having their best year ever. This company having its best year ever. Most of the time with these nominal measures, you're also counting inflation, which, as you can see in the example of XCOM, means a lot. Like, it almost tripled, well, let's say doubled, like the amount that it cost to make XCOM. And we have enough history in games now, and like enough knowledge in terms of these costs, that like if you just do a chart of like what stuff cost in the 1990s up to 2020s, it's gonna look like just there's this exponential growth. And the thing is that inflation does not explain all of this. There is actually a race in terms of expenses. Epic stopped making Gears of War because they felt they had to bet the farm every single time that they were making another Gears of War game. So they went to smaller games like Fortnite and just basically got a license to print money doing that. So it's a real thing. But you want to be very careful when you're making statements like that, because if you don't account for things like changes in the price level, you overstate the effect. And then the big question is like, why is it costing so much, right? Especially in light of the fact that we do have these productivity-enhancing technologies. So one thing you might point out is that a lot of the games that are being discussed in these conversations are ones that are not using off-the-shelf technology. They're actually inventing their own tech. And so to a certain extent, maybe what's being embodied in these costs are the development of the technology to make games, like to push the envelope. But I mean, again, like I'm not going to dispute the idea that games are more expensive to make than they were yesterday. But I would definitely be interested to see, on a quality-adjusted basis, what's happening. Yeah, Vanguard Master knows this better than most in terms of what it costs. Anyways, I'm sorry, that was a long digression. The game we're talking about is not the most complex one in today's standards, so I don't think it would take more than one guy 2 years. Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I mean, it would be interesting to see what it takes to get Xenonauts out the door. But, it's even then, Xenonauts is building on the XCOM experience, and they also have, like, there's the knowledge of what people want from an XCOM game and what you can get out of an XCOM style game. So even then, like, it's a bit of a tricky comparison to make, just by virtue of the fact that I feel like I should be sending the. You know what? Let's make nice with the. Let's make nice with Mom. Am I not allowed to influence her? There we go. And Olaf, I see you in there. How are you doing? Okay, sorry. I really wanted to like come out swinging with Old World, and I started talking about game dev stuff. I always feel a little self-conscious about it because I'm not a practitioner, and I realize, like, the genre I hate is the opinionated gamer explaining to people their own business. I hope people understand that I'm doing my best to analyze an interesting problem using the tools that I know. I do as much as I can to try and educate myself, but inevitably there's going to be gaps in my understanding. Okay, so the last thing for me to do is well, let's at least chop some trees. I had a really rough night last night, Olaf, but other than that, I'm doing okay. I am definitely under... Oh! Sappenbal the Witty has died. I was definitely not expecting that sneak attack. Young hostage. Among the Libyan prisoners, our units discover a boy who claims to be the son of a Numidian king. He relates a harrowing tale in which he was kidnapped by Libyan royalty and held hostage. What shall we do with the boy? So we can return him to the Numidians. He's too valuable. I will raise the boy as my own. The child will be raised as a political prisoner in our court. And the child is simply another prisoner. Yes! This is how we make friends. Okay, so we definitely need to bring in some reinforcements here. I'd really rather not lose the science, so let's do Abdosir the Robust. It'll lose me a bit of money, but we're doing very well for cash. Speaking of, can I buy these off? No. Raiders cannot be hired as mercenaries. All right. I should probably heal before we go any further. That'll also act as a little bit of a buffer for, you know what, we can do better than that. Yeah, exactly, Index Gnome, and that's kind of what I'm trying to get at when I talk about quality change. So, like, the meme I hate the most from gaming circles, and they always love pointing out EA as this, despite the fact that the last few major releases from EA don't even have DLC at all. But it's like, you know, gaming in the old days, and it's like this perfect photo of a hamburger, and then is like gaming today, and it's like, you know, a bun, and then like you have to buy individually ketchup and a patty and so on and so forth, and it's just assuming that, you know, this experience that you had in yesteryear has somehow been cut up into all of these individual transactions, where the floor you're starting with a base game is like, people are talking about games like Mass Effect, and then they're comparing it to like Quake. Now, Quake is a fine game. I had a blast playing that when I played it, but Quake is not like Mass Effect 2, right? Mass Effect 2 is a very large, very impressive game, you know, fully voice acted, a full-on RPG system. You know, there's a lot going on in that game, and if they want to charge me for some extra experiences in that world, I think that is fair enough, right? Because I believe in nominal terms, the base price for both of those games is the same. I don't know. Somebody might be able to clarify that for me. But no, you're absolutely right. Like, the expectations of a modern game are so much larger than what they were before. And, you know, this is the thing, like, what I look at when I see these articles, like, you know, game expenses are out of control, is to say, it's like, okay, well, we have productivity enhancing technological improvement. Like, we know this is the case. So, you know, what's driving the rise in expenses? As you say, it's, you know, added features, basically. The games are better. And to a certain extent, I guess I need to ask is like, do we need to be writing these articles as though it's a bad thing if ultimately it's the consumer level that's driving this? Because there's either one of two things that needs to happen. So either, like, first of all, games not only are getting better, but more people are playing them, probably because they're better. Also, they are where people can play them, right? So you don't need to be like a unique kind of nerd to be able to play a game on like a mainframe in a university, and you don't have to be a particular kind of geek who either is an adult and is playing something that looks like a device for toys like a Nintendo, or it's for toys, for kids like a Nintendo, or, basically getting a specific machine dedicated for gaming. Everybody's a gamer if they've ever played like Wordle on their phone. So there's that. Although, again, obviously Wordle is not pushing the envelope in terms of game expenses. So the thing is that, the expanded budgets could be in order to capture more and more of a market, right? And potentially a market that may not have existed before. Although, again, let's face it, the games that are getting, hundreds of millions of dollars sent to them are more likely going to be sort of the hardcore gamer kind of game. So again, like, it's hard for me to say. It's like, well, if people are just responding to consumer demand, then I don't necessarily see this as a difficult or an unsustainable process, because obviously there's also a very robust independent scene. There are people who are having trouble making it, right? But Hooded Horse is definitely doing some interesting things in terms of bringing indies to the masses in a way that, they produce enjoyable games, and I believe so far have made their money back on everything that they've released. But there is going to be a limit to what you can spend on making a game, and at that point, one of two things needs to happen. Either gamers need to get comfortable with the idea that games are going to cost more, and DLC is part of that, right? Like, so yes, you have your base game, but if you want the deluxe edition or the ultimate edition, you're not spending $60 or $70 anymore. You're spending closer to $130. By the way, I've done articles on like all of this stuff a few years ago, and most of it could easily apply today. Like, these are not exactly new problems, but at least those articles have the benefit of a little bit more data than I have immediately available to me right now, because obviously I did the work. And I'm sorry to keep referring back to stuff that I've written before, but like, obviously, it's nice to be able to refer to this, and I'm never going to complain about, people visiting the blog. But yeah, so either we're going to see a reduction in terms of the number of new features that are added inside of a game. Basically the rate at which those get added will be consistent with the technological progress. Or, at some point, there's either going to be fewer new people coming into the space, like coming in as customers, or we're going to have to get more comfortable with higher prices. But, it's... I guess the biggest thing for me is that I've never liked it when these articles seem to take it as obviously a bad thing. Because in the end, like, I know people who just don't play AAA releases anymore. I used to be kind of like that. I mean, I'm enjoying The Division 2, and I'll probably try the new Star Wars game. I'll probably try the one before it first, but I enjoy a nice big, I enjoy a nice big spectacle, but it's not my go-to. But obviously, there's a ton of people who buy Call of Duty every time it comes out. So, anyways, Vanguard's got. Counter-argument is that there are a lot of people looking for and enjoying older style games that aren't necessarily looking for the flashing bells and lights, or that's the conclusion you would draw from those types of games coming out and people buying them. Absolutely, yeah. But the thing is that I also feel that demand is being met. I can't really see, like, the thing is that like, if it was a counter-argument to the meme, I don't really see it as a counter-argument, because in the end, what it's doing is it's comparing the old-style game with a brand new AAA experience. And that's not a fair comparison. And it would seem to me that if you take a look at an old game compared to an indie, the price has gone down, both in nominal and in real terms. So... yeah, fair enough. But with that in mind, it is a stream of Old World, so I'm going to go back to Old World. Please don't consider that to be invoking closure on the topic, but I'm going to focus a little bit more on the new city. Zanbak the Younger has died, Hanby the Builder is converted to Carthaginian paganism, and I've successfully exerted my influence on Mum. Okay, this is our settler, so we want to... yeah, so as feared, I'm not going to be able to get the pasture right away. So I think everybody's got one city. Got a site for a mine. Not the most exciting for lumber mills. I think we'll build a Hanonid city here. We've completed the goal, control 4 cities. Glory of Carthage, resources. As our colonies spread out along the coast of North Africa, so will our merchant ships spread out across the world. Okay. Theater seems like a good idea. Okay, well, can't build a theater there. I'm a little worried that I might have boxed myself in. Doing what I can to try and recover my so we can move straight on to the Libyans after this. I should probably be spending some of this training to make more things happen, but I'll leave it here. Okay, so we'll do the usual thing. We'll start with a worker. I probably should build slingers right away, and I think adding maybe a bireme to every city may be a good idea too. Now, Hadromentum. Let's. So I think I pretty much have to have a stone cutter so that I can access more quarries here. I should also probably build a rancher. But I am going to want to get a fairly steady stream of settlers to take care of these newly conquered areas as well. So, anyways. Something for me to deal with in future turns. Okay, I gotta be careful with these guys now. Dukes, Zushan is old enough to be tutored by courtiers. Paying our dues, the time has come again for Carthage to send tribute to Tyre. What shall our next shipment consist of? I think food's the right call here. Time passes quickly. Duke Zushan is growing up fast and eager to learn. How would you like to educate him? We'll make him a politician again. And let's start with tutoring. So higher chance for charisma here. I need to do things to make her happy with me. That or just wait for her to die. Oh, sorry, Mom. Did you hear that? Okay. I'm a little reluctant to do this, but I am going to pull this unit back and heal. It's not sufficient to take them out, so let's bring a new force to sort of back us up. Okay, next up. So I guess technically I could put the ship here. Yeah. Oh, but that's not accessible yet. This may be a mistake, yeah. I'm gonna force march them in this case. And then I gotta buy the order. And it occurred to me the priority for getting a settler is actually pretty high. So who can build one the fastest? So Carthage can get one in 5 years. 7, 15, 10. Okay, so Carthage is the... Oh, what am I doing? Not a worker? Settler. So the reason for this is that I do have 23 years for the pastures and camps, but obviously I need to build workers to be able to do that. That's going to take 6 or 7 years. On that note, you're going to get back to work, so I'll just lurk. May drop a bit through the night. Well, thank you for stopping by, Vanguard Master, and as always, good luck on your project. Yeah, I mean, Index Gnome, and well, I guess Index Gnome and Vanguard Master's point, like, I'm sure it's reasonable to say, like, if you believe that there is a cap on, let's say, a birth rate. So, like, the thing is that I think probably, like, there are more gamers gaming for a longer period of time, right? So, part of this has been, like, stuff like, you know, the Switch, right? Or the iPhone. Like, this is something that enables people to play games who maybe wouldn't have played games originally. Or like the Wii probably would be a really good example of that. And I saw the Tetris movie last month, so like that's also another good example of, like, you know, Tetris is not the sort of thing that you associate with like, I can remember my parents like being fascinated by Tetris. Loving it. So, you know, like in that case, I mean, I like Tetris. That's not a lol, this game is for old people kind of thing. Like, who doesn't like Tetris? But that's a great example of something which is not like running around with a gun killing everything. And like the thing is that I could point you to something like Old World and say, you know, see, games are more than just like running around shooting people. But then you have that difficulty of explaining to someone, like, you know, if you think it's difficult to get people together with, like, board game night and explain the rules, like, how on earth do you try and explain to someone how Old World works if they've never played a video game before, right? Like, it's obviously this game is intended for an audience that is comfortable with a certain type of video game already. I think it does a good job of teaching you how to play it, but, like, this is maybe not the first video game you would ever play, with all due respect to... sorry, I realize saying all due respect makes it sound like you're going to say something mean. But no, like, I hope you, like, kind of get what I'm trying to say with that, which is... It's not that Old World is bad or has a defect. It's just that, you know, some games are easier to get into than others. And one of the things that makes Tetris so appealing is the fact that it is such a straightforward game to get into. I'm really curious if we're going to survive. News arrives abroad that Rula the Numidian is dead. Queen Dasin now leads the Numidians. Okay, so if I don't have a way of healing this unit, it's going to die, so... Fruit trees, blossoming trees tower over the dusty ruins, providing ample shade. Their branches are heavy with ripe fruit. A natural orchard stretches for miles. How will you use this excellent source of food? We can take the fruit home, chop down the trees, or let the trees inspire artists and thinkers. I'm going to go for the inspiration. So, but yeah, anyways, the main point I want to make, like, so I think to a certain extent, as far as entertainment is concerned, gaming has benefited from the fact that it is appealing to a larger number of people, and to a certain extent that is what is sustaining the ability to keep games in, I'd say, the same price in nominal terms and actually lower in real terms in a lot of the cases. And this can be stuff as simple as, like, making The Sims, right? So The Sims sold significant... I have an article on this, for instance. The Sims sold significantly better than Deus Ex, which came out in the same year, because Deus Ex is going to appeal to a very, like, narrow group of people, whereas you can see how The Sims is going to appeal to a very broad range of people. And being able to do that, you know, the other thing too is that if you discover something like that, you're also kind of uncontested in that space, right? You're the only person who's providing a Sims-like experience for people, which means, you know, you're probably going to be doing very well for yourself. You'll, of course, inspire imitators when you do something successful. It's just like the Wii, right? How many other motion products came out after the Wii was successful? But yeah, if you allow for this possible... So, you know, number one, the birth rate doesn't necessarily need to be going up so much as non-gamers need to become gamers. But if you say, okay, there's a limit to that, there's also a limit to the number of people that are going to be born who become gamers. As Index Gnome points out, you know, the last step of this is basically developing new things. And sometimes that can be a case of a price increase, but one that's justified through basically a bigger and fancier product of some kind. But that part's speculative, because we're not there yet. Explored far and wide. As desired by the Hanoid family, our scouts have explored all along the African coast, even reaching out to sea to investigate local islands. Many resources have been secured, forgotten secrets discovered. Our mastery over both land and sea continues to expand. Our reputation continues to grow. Excellent. We are on our way to becoming a wealthy nation. So, we've got a number of decisions to make here. Let's do the war stuff first. So I think my best move for this unit is to wipe out the... Yeah. Protect what we have first, and then... work down the enemy. So eventually this unit will take that, give you a poke. I don't know if we really need a quarry there, but I don't have much else to do at the moment. I don't think it would hurt to put a barracks here, but clearly there's no other moves for me. So I'm curious to see if this unit survives. I think they should. The health of Queen Consort Dido has begun to decline, and she is now ill. Your wife has given birth to a son, Prince Balhano. It's not just that everybody used to listen to radio, people still listen to radio. I think there's a great misconception in terms of radio as a dying medium, but even beyond like the idea of podcasting and such, I'd actually argue probably radio's become, the bigger hit to radio might have been work from home and like the COVID stuff. But radio's definitely a it's a form of media that punches above its weight. Although, I mean, let's be honest, I don't listen to the radio a ton. All right, the health of Queen Consort Dido. Your wife has begun to decline, and she's now ill, given birth to Prince Balhano. Now, I have the option of redrawing if I want. I could use forestry, but for that we need polis. Well, let's see what's going on here. So, Duke Zushan comes to you during a rare break from the Academy seeking guidance. Two opposing factions of thought dominate my discussions and studies. One holds that fates direct the ways of mankind, so we must accept all events with stoic tranquility. The other states that the gods are indifferent and fickle, and thus we should look to ourselves for enrichment of the mind and body. Zushan sighs heavily. Which of these is the right way? So the gods are to be feared in all respects, or money and knowledge are the root of all power. So they can become gracious or superstitious, or educated or greedy. Enamored, recent court gossip centers on the chief of the Numidians, Dasin, and her growing fondness of you. She saw you during a recent diplomatic visit, and the tribal ruler was visibly smitten. How can we use this relationship to our advantage? This match is a boon to both groups. I mean, my wife's sick, right? She's not going to pay attention. I have no time for flights of fancy. Or I will woo her in order to secure favorable trade deals. Boon to both groups. Okay, so if I redraw, it's free settler... Okay, actually, both of these are useful. What I fear is the possibility of either getting two free settler and free archer, or free settler and polis. But it's a risk I'm willing... No, better still, I don't need to redraw. I can just do administration because it'll only take 1 year. Okay. So that's units healed up. I like the idea of building the range, I just don't follow why I can't... Ah, that's why. Libyan prince, our soldiers take the local Libyan chief captive, and they force him before the throne in fetters. Head held high, he asks the court to show mercy, to spare his young son in exchange for his own life. What is our answer? Send them both away in chains, spare the boy but kill the father, which is the compassionate option, or I will raise the boy as my own. Send them both away in chains. Mutambal is the general of warrior, so they can become an engineer, a shield bearer, or disciplined. I think shield bearer is a good option here. Okay, so this unit's got a little more health. There's a few things that I can do to make this easier. Alright, that was a little more than I wanted, but we'll be able to sort it. You are now known as Bostar the Learned. And Duke Zoshan has turned away from the heavens to find meaning, and his sensei, he has become greedy. Not my intended effect. Queen Dowager Ashbal has died. Patriarch Adonibal the Cunning is now head of Carthaginian paganism. Queen Consort Dido is feeling much better now and is no longer ill. And Oligarch Hanno the Merchant has tutored Duke Zushan, improving his charisma. Okay, so I want the free archer, but I want lumber more, so we are going to pick Polis. Descended from Astarte. The legends of Carthage say that Queen Dido brought the high priest of Astarte across the seas with her, promising him and his descendants the position of high priest in her new city. Patriarch Adonibal the Cunning, the current head of Carthaginian paganism, claims that the rights of the role have dwindled across the years and is looking to restore the position to power. So we can give him control of the nation's education, appoint him as a special advisor, or refuse to grant any more. I do want to be on good terms, so... Okay, values. A great debate rages through the Carthaginian court. What are the core values of the nation? The oligarchs of the elite families do not agree. King Bostar the Learned seeks to settle this matter for all time by declaring a new policy. The nation shall dedicate itself to its greatest pursuit yet, one that may take as long as half a century to see to completion. What shall it be? To conquer the Numidians to their last rider? Their last encampment? To generate from scratch a new industry for the cultivation of olives and their precious oil? To build the grandest marketplace anywhere along the shores of the Mediterranean and reserve its wealth for our national treasury? Or to build a grand courthouse and fill its halls with the adjudication of the most advanced and productive laws in the known world? So honestly, the market in Carthage and a reserve of 3,000 is not a problem at all. Send olives to 3 families and 2 elder specialists is a little more difficult, and then 7 laws is a hard one for me to do, so I want to see what it takes to get a market. And then as far as olives are concerned, so I have 1 olive field, 2 olive fields, although we need to go to war with the Numidians for that. We're in shooting distance of 3 olive farms, so the question here is, what does it take for a market? Well, actually, we just need coinage for that. So it seems to me like we should build a market. Alright, you build a market in Carthage and create a reserve of 3,000 money within 50 turns. A luxurious demand. As our treasuries fill with the finest luxuries, the Maganid family has come to demand a cut of the wealth. They desire more of our collected gems, or they will make our job of governing difficult. What shall we tell them? Absolutely send that to them. Okay, I think I win this fight, but it would be nice to have a little more help. Have we dealt with the raiders yet? Yes. Okay, I'm happy with where we're at with the raiders. Let's get everybody to heal up. One of these I should probably be sending back to the front. Ah! I'd also kind of like to move the ships into a slightly more intelligent place. Or maybe save that for later. Okay. Let's start with a rancher first, then the fisher. Treasury wouldn't hurt. I'll leave it there. I feel like there's some other things that I need to get done. I also should have tutored the child, so... Let's make nice with the... Oh! I've already tried to influence him, so... Bad luck with religion. The amphitheater improves... No, that's Hamlet class improvements. So this isn't a great place because I can't build a hamlet here, but maybe that's not a priority. Or maybe what I do is I head out... This is kind of silly, but I'm basically going to build a hamlet here. Okay, I don't know what I'm going to do with them. I think these guys can stay put. Alright, there's not that much more for me to do now, so let's move this guy. I do want to get a slightly better position with the ship, so let's say 2 to the right like this, and anchor. I hope this is right. I'm trying to make it so that we can transport our people pretty quickly. First of all, we'll take care of the Libyans, but I eventually want to make it so that I can sort of transport all across North Africa. Okay, not much else for me to do with this unit, to be honest. I'm curious how this is going to turn out. Yeah, we should be able to take him out. Reports of a tribal raid from a Numidian outpost near Hippo Regius. Oligarch Ashtonat the Bold has died, and Oligarch Abdosir the Robust is now head of the Didonian family. So, as always, we do war matters first. So one thing I want to keep an eye on is this unit's strength. Now, the good news is that we can really clobber the Libyans here. Moving on. I thought I was tutoring you. Oh. Okay, nope. Should probably heal before I do anything with this. Well, we'll put you in the temple first. It's kind of important to heal up the units where I can, so let's this is a good opportunity for the scout. I'm gonna pick up them. Sorry, there's a better way I can do this. Nuts. Oh, interesting. I can't build a hamlet. Darn it. Okay. That complicates things. I'm sure there was a more efficient path I could have taken with them, but oh dear. I'm really running out of stuff to do with my people. All right, that's the last unit I've got, so I guess we can get them chopping down trees for a bit. Patriarch Adonabal the Cunning has died. Patriarch Bomilcar the Compassionate is now head of Carthaginian paganism. I definitely want the free settler because that's going to help my expansion. Watching the masters, the art of politics is not just learned through a teacher, but by careful observation of the masters at work. It is common for Zushan and other noble children of Carthage to spend the day watching the best orators speak on matters of law and morality. Zushan has been especially impressed by oligarch Zmorod of Carthacht, claiming that her speeches on the true path a Carthaginian should move that her speeches on the true path of a Carthaginian could move even the most doubtful listener. Now, I don't want... I always feel very needy when I say this sort of stuff, so please don't take it as, you know, an effort to try and force people to engage in a way that they don't want. But if you are interested in this, I'm curious if anybody here has opinions on good speakers. Like, who would you consider a good orator, classical or modern? And what do you think of the practice of rhetoric today? This is actually something I've been thinking about a lot, and I have some specific readings that I've been doing. Vanguard Master will know where this is coming from, but I'm curious how people feel about this topic. If it's something that you think about at all, you know, if you have a fondness of classics and you've read about the sophists or whatever, I'm kind of curious what people feel about this. Okay, so we could ask Zorad to train Zushan for a favor, commission him to write a new work, or encourage him to pay close attention. I do like the idea of more culture in Carthage. So the Numidians present an offer promising a stable peace. Do we approve? Offer's not good enough. I kind of wanted the peace, but I didn't want to just give away the store. Okay, I think this is the best location. So this is good because it's going to give me access to the pasture and the camps, and we should be able to get that done in time. I'm wondering where this tribal raid's going to be coming in. I also should probably be renewing a few of my generals now that I think of it. I have one more action as this unit. Alright, this probably was dumb. They're almost certainly going to race out and beat me up, but... Okay. You definitely need to build a pasture. What? There we go. I was worried for a minute. Oh, here we go. Hamlet time. I should probably go to the next unit before I go too far on that path. Okay, we'll skip you for now. Skip you. Skip you. Yeah, so it really is just this worker. Oh my god. Leave him alone. The tutor mission of Oligarch Hanno the Merchant has led to an event. Acts of charity. Once a week, Hanno brings his young pupil to the slums of Karthacht, where Zushan feeds the poorest of the poor. The teacher insists that such a lesson is vital in shaping future leaders. Zushan appears to be benefiting from the exposure. So encourage him to support charitable government policies, or suggest that he continue working directly with the poor. I do like the idea of some boosted wisdom, so we'll make him humble. Now, it's tempting to take the free worker. It is 1 year. But forestry, man. I think I'm going for forestry. The value of being a good speaker has almost dissipated in today's politics, in your opinion. So this is the interesting question, Index Gnome. Do you feel that that skill is limited to politics, or do you feel that... do you feel that a talent for speaking has taken, basically the importance has shifted to maybe something different? I don't have a firm answer one way or the other. One of the reasons for this is over the last little over a year, my feeling on this has actually changed. But this is also why I'm interested in... This is why I'm also interested in people's feelings about this. I think I have to do Didonians here. Because it's not really an opportunity for mines. Good news is we can do a bunch of healing. So, as usual, we build a worker first. I think we start with worker and slinger at this rate. Hadrimentum. I'm actually gonna change my ship orientation again. Let's think about what we want expansion-wise. So acolytes are hard to turn down because of the culture. I think I want this stonecutter, though. And we'll get a new citizen by the time the new stonecutter comes in. Okay, this is a bit of a walk, but okay. So we move up. Yeah, I think we can just do the one up here. No, not quite. No, we still probably have to. More quarries. Scrub is not the most efficient use of this action, but they're in the area, so... Alright, let's move our people out. This scout's almost dead, so we'll retreat. So I've got a few too many units on the side here. Actually, you know what? No, we're still going to let them come to us. I am going to slightly adjust the placement, though. And I think one of my scouts needs to be back in Numidian territory specifically because of these raids. So let's move them in. But we have so many tools that can help that skill. It's no longer at the top. One tool, of course, other people writing speech for you, making ads, etc. Yeah, I mean, I guess when I think Winston Churchill's an example that people think of in terms of a gifted speaker. I know there's also the story that he may not have written all of his speeches, so obviously the ability to deliver... Like, this is the thing, sometimes it's one that needs to be defined first before we really get into it in terms of the skill, because there's the question in terms of public speaking. Do you have to write your own speeches, or is it sufficient to... is it sufficient to be the one to deliver? So, for example, right, this is such a fraught example, but Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall, right? Peter Robinson is the author of those words, but that is obviously one that people associate with the best president ever. No, with Ronald Reagan. So, to a certain extent, right, it's hard to say that was not an impactful speech, but it does, in terms of the discussion and what we are interested in talking about, there is an open question as to whether or not we would include something like that, because there's a difference between the author of the words and the speaker. And I mean, it's not even necessarily a new one. Like, there's a dialogue by Plato. It's not exactly about this, but called Ion, and it's about a rhapsode, Ion, whose specialty is it might be a good one to maybe do a small reading of at some point. But his specialty is in reciting Homer. And, Socrates kind of does his little interrogation of it and is like, well, what are you good at? Because, Homer's full of all the good knowledge that someone should have. Ion winds up claiming a number of specialties, and of course Socrates being Socrates, at least in the dialogues, he knocks those ideas down. And Ion eventually settles on, his mastery is generalship, because Homer is all about, war. Well, I guess the Iliad's about a war. Well, Odyssey, maybe less so. I mean, it's hard not to see that as comedic. But, you can sort of see a similar division to what we're talking about, which is... is it sufficient to just be able to recite words that someone else has written for you, or is it is the construction of the speech sort of necessary to be a good speaker as well? Duke Bodestart is now old enough to be tutored by courtiers, and King Bostar the Learned has tutored Duke Zushan, improving his courage. Time passes quickly, and Duke Bodestart is growing up fast and eager to learn. How would you like to educate him? Let's make him a tactician. Okay, hopefully our new sea conveyance. Not exactly. It's close, but... How's the progress going, Vanguard Master? I think you know why I asked the rhetoric question for people, but... let's... It's tempting to build the hamlet out here, but I think I'm going to invest in the... Well, the Odeon's tempting. Mind you, so are quarries here. I think I'll put down the range. Okay, so an amphitheater. Not quite ready for that. We'll do one last batch of tree cutting. Okay, we'll have a changing of the guard here. Oh god, are you really gonna make me... So I'm steady doing mind-numbing polishing right now before you get into more interesting things and your mind has gone quite numb. I think we tend to give speeches too high a value. In retrospect, sure, it can convince a few, but I think we look at them with a filter clouded by history. I think that's fair, although it's hard to see... Like, I know you're not making sort of the maximum case in this, you know, there being no influential speeches. I am probably a little warmer to the influence of these things than you might be. Like, so, and there's a number that you can take. So, like, you know, you take Pericles' funeral oration, and it's very clear that there is a there are references to that in you know, Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. And of course, the Gettysburg Address at the time, actually, this is a fun little bit to read. I'm sure most people are familiar with this, but was it the Chicago Tribune? Yep, it was the Chicago Times. You're probably thinking... Well, yeah, Herodotus is the one that people always keep kind of flogging for making stuff up, but definitely Thucydides, like the Pericles' funeral oration, there's definitely a belief that those may not have been the actual words that Pericles uttered. But... I'm sure it could be leveled at both. But yeah, so I certainly can't do justice to the, you know, the work, but the Gettysburg Address is very, you know, very short, right? fourscore and 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those here who gave their lives that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it far above our own poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work that they who fought here have thus so far nobly advanced. It is rather for us here to be dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave their last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. So one of the things actually that's really cool about this speech is that it's short. It's like I could definitely learn some lessons in terms of packing a punch in such a tight frame. And yet it's able to use some it's able to use certain rhetorical techniques such as repetition, right? So it's not that this is not smart brevity, for those of you that have read that Axios book, right? So if you think of that last paragraph, in the larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The repetition really works, but it doesn't bloat the word count in the way that I tend to do in my own speech. But I didn't want to just read the Gettysburg Address as lovely as it is, but it's actually to write it's to be able to say what the Chicago Times wrote. The cheeks of every American must tingle with shame as he reads the silly, flat, and dishwatery utterances. We pass over the silly remarks of the president, willing that the veil of oblivion shall be dropped over them, and that they shall no more be repeated or thought of. I don't know if there was another. I think there might actually be another example of the. Anyways, it doesn't matter. But just in terms of impact in that, I think it kind of works both ways. That sometimes certain words can be underappreciated, others can be tremendously influential. I think it would be fair to say the Gettysburg Address is an example of something that was very influential. But of course, it's not just Thucydides it's referencing, by the way. There's a number of different references present inside of it. But it would be very fair to say that is certainly a work that is building on prior public speech. And he said, we have a current war going on in Eastern Europe, and looking at that, I think we can say for sure rhetoric can have an effect. I just think we tend to put certain events like speeches on some high pedestal. Yeah, and actually, so this is where I was going. I didn't want to be the one to bring it up, but I had a very negative view in terms of the role of speech and essentially rhetoric as a whole in the modern day. I actually needed to revise my thinking on that, and a very large part of it is Zelensky. This is one of the again, I don't like coaching the witness to get to the result that I'm looking for, but I think the exact one that you were thinking of is the same example I was thinking of when I sort of reflected on it. I think I'm still going to hold off against the enemy unit here. There's a small argument for me to move into the well, yeah, you know what? Reports of a tribal raid from a Numidian outpost near Carthatched. All right, so I definitely have a lot of fighting ahead of me. Politics studies. Now that Duke Sushan has completed his study of politics, how shall he contribute to the court? So he can be a beacon of knowledge and culture, or a diplomat, a trustworthy and charismatic broker. I think we'll go diplomat. All-star is you and the governor of Carthatched, so he can become a cultivator, vigilant. We'll go for the extra discipline. I do tend to go for the raw stats. That may not be the best strategy, but it's the one. It's the one I'm living with. Okay, I would prefer not to engage cavalry on the open plain, but I do need to fight them somewhere. I think we definitely need to get these guys in play now. Let's actually move them a little closer to the border, because they may actually start heading to all these regions which are completely undefended. You need to put them in the woods, I think. Okay. I want to achieve this goal as soon as I can, so I'm sort of dealing with somebody else's job, but the sooner I get that done, the better. Forestry in a year. So we'll keep these guys in the borders for now. Yeah, so it's just my scout left. So there's not really that much in terms of cover for me right now, so we'll move up here. And I think that's it. Man, I'm really not, I'm not getting a good read on what it takes to lose a unit. I gotta go for the 3-court scholar here. Military diplomacy! You approach Bodestart during his training one day to find the tutor running through theoretical situations. Say there's a walled city by the banks of a river. You have only a short time to convince them to surrender before your own resources run out. What will you do? Bodestart looks puzzled and then lights up upon seeing you, his questioning gaze seeking an answer to the puzzle. So divert the river to starve resources, storm the walls with an elite force, or send a diplomatic envoy to convince them to surrender. He is a tactics student, so I think we need a besieger at this point. Alright, so I only have one option here, which is Maganid. Well, it's not only one option, but it would be wise for me to focus on that. Okay. So you say it's more about the person than the specific speech, you win the people. So I suppose that would be a question, if not through speech, and certainly I don't think it's the only mechanism that you have, but if not through speech, how does one win the populace? Because I'm not necessarily opposed to the idea, but I think maybe one of the unspoken assumptions of the discussion so far is that speech is the way in which people are persuaded and sort of brought alongside. And what you've offered here is something that that sort of runs contrary to that. That perhaps the impact of speech is overstated. And I'm just a little curious how you might unpack that and say how people are brought over in the absence of the role of public speaking. Who is that? Takri! Thank you very much for almost a year of subscriptions. That's hard to believe it's been that long, but I'm definitely very grateful for your continued support, both on Twitch and on YouTube. How are you doing tonight? Okay, so we're building our worker. I think we go for a slinger in the city as well, and I'm going to leave that be for now. Addermentum, we finished the stonecutter. We have a new citizen. What do I want? What do I want? Well, this gives me access to more stone resources, so it feels a little silly to do, but I'm doing it. I also think it's time that we get a slinger and some walls, and probably we should have done that a lot earlier. So this is going to get really rough here for a bit. I gotta redirect this unit. In fact, I probably should force march them at this point. Nah, we'll give it a turn. I can afford to take the damage. Okay, so we've got 2-on-2 here. We have a reasonably good advantage. So let's start moving these units into a position to defend Hadramantum. Gotta heal this unit. I don't know if this really improves anything, but okay, where do I put this guy? It's probably the best view I can get on the bad guys right now. Yeah, that's it for the turn. I can't see? Well, you can, but it hurts. You went to the eye doc and they dilated your eyes. Oh my goodness. Well, fortunately I talk a whole lot. I may take a small break for some tea. But I hope you feel better soon, and I hope all is well, but I'm sorry you are currently in pain. It's about the timing. Words are important, but so are looks, and what others say about someone. Many things color your view of someone, even if we don't want to admit it. Oh, sure. No, I don't disagree with that. I mean, again, this is one of the... I think in the end, this is why this can be interesting, although sometimes a frustrating topic, which is trying to pin down exactly what we're talking about is a little bit of a journey in and of itself. Because obviously, you know... when you like the reading I've been doing so far is quintillion, and so in terms of the practice of rhetoric, that can be everything in terms of, you know, a proper arrangement of words, their presentation. There's lots of different ways that you can try and persuade people, and then you could probably argue that, you know, give it enough time, and rhetoric, you know, is basically media studies now, although I'm sure rhetoricians may not be. And this is the challenge, right? Like, it's fun to imagine being in your toga providing, you know, this grand speech to the Senate, you know, Senate, Carthago delenda est. But, you know, clearly we seem to feel a need to either persuade or influence, and that is growing over time rather than shrinking. But whether or not there is a role for public speaking in that, I think I find it an interesting question, at least. You know, it's not like so I definitely don't feel that... I do know that some people have wound up buying games off of me covering stuff, and that feels great because I love being able to share stuff that I enjoy. But I am under no illusions that people sat down and listened to me give this impassioned speech for why Old World is a game that will expand your mind and give you a, you know, a great view into an ancient and lost culture, and it's incredibly important that you play this game. Nobody's necessarily going to hear this, you know, great oration, or I'm not going to give like a Philippic against, I don't know, Humankind or Warhammer 40k Gladius or whatever you would consider a competition for this game. You know, people are checking this out because they want to see the gameplay, they want to get an idea in terms of what someone playing the game is thinking at the time. And, you know, and likewise, part of influence and persuasion now is people coming out and, you know, having like an Instagram account, let's say, and, you know, oh, I see you are using this certain, you know, this particular product. You know, I want this product now. Everybody's using this. And again, that is very little to do with public speaking. And as somebody who cringes at the stuff that he sometimes says online, look, I'll be the first one to say I don't exactly see a lot of TikToks or Twitter videos and say, oh, these people have a real gift for speaking. It's not great. But like I said, I have been forced to shift from a purely pessimistic view of rhetoric today. Right, we are Bostar the Enlightened, and we have constructed 3 biremes. Ashtart joins the court. A new court scholar, Ashtart has joined the court. Her curiosity and insight will aid Carthage in unraveling the mysteries of the world. Welcome, Ashtart the Scientist. The right answer. As the wealth of the new city grows to legendary heights and word of its wealth spreads around the Mediterranean region, you need to defend what has been built, what has been earned, the need to defend what has been built, what has been earned, increases. Now that Carthage has built a formidable navy, a new need has emerged. How can this navy be deployed without dedicated crews for the ships? Deploying only some of the ships, while others remain in reserve, could allow the great city to call upon citizen volunteers in times of crisis. However, there is still the matter of who would crew the ships that are put into use. Rotations could be set up, with military service required for a period of time. But this approach risks losing the knowledge gained by those who serve when their time of service expires. The city cannot afford to dedicate all of its citizenry to martial service. There must be an institutional answer. So, adopt the law professional army. Speaking of rhetoric. So, first thing I want to do is see what leads to professional army. I should probably be able to tell this from the, yeah. Okay, so land consolidation is the closest path I have to that. So as much as I would, there's a number of things that I would like, but I think land consolidation is the name of the game here. Paying our dues. The time has come again for Carthage to send tribute to Tyre. What shall our next shipment consist of? I think produce is the name of the game again. Milko is the governor of Hadramentum and a court scholar. I do like the idea of inspiring. Okay. So, again, there's a number of things that I need to do here. I'm going to move back and heal for a bit. Let's focus on military matters first, because we are in a tight spot. I'm definitely okay hiding where I am here. There's a little boulder. There's a fairly heavy penalty I'm going to pay by attacking this way, but one thing I could do would be to hire the cavalry. Well, yeah, I'm still above 3,000. It's not going to save me here. We'll see. I feel like there may be some other things that I can do. This feels so wasteful to put the bireme here. I'll live with it for now, but I won't be happy about it. Oh, I'm really done already, huh? Crumbs. All right, well, let's see what happens. I'm definitely underinvested in terms of the military. Like the limitation for this game or for this scenario is that you do have sort of slower progress in terms of developing military units, but I've unfortunately translated that into like no investment in military units, and that's the wrong way. Well, fortunately, they're leaving my worker alone. Okay, now I need a marketplace at some point. So first of all, let me make sure that I've actually got the market. No, we need coinage. Maybe I should have taken a closer look for that, but that's fine. We can definitely build lumber mills. We should probably work on military matters first. So as usual, we're going to try and beat the crap out of the people, of like a single unit first. And sadly, that's not enough to seal the deal, but we can follow up next turn. And there we go. So it's starting to look up. I'll definitely take a chance to move this unit in closer. Now the nice thing is this warrior does have the option of running back into... It's not that far away to get back into our home territory if I need to heal. I'm going to keep you... Well... We'll steal some camels and then run back to our hiding spot. And similar story with this unit, but we're going to hold them in place. This unit heals. This unit heals. This is also the fact that I've got orders left over is a big indicator to me that either I don't have enough workers, which is probably true, or not enough military units. That's definitely true. And again, I always have the option of buying up some more military units, but I'll resist the temptation for now. Alright, reports of a tribal raid from a Libyan outpost near Leptis Magna. Prince Balhano is old enough to be tutored by courtiers. Also, I need to work on getting some marriages. Thubabeth, the tactician, is converted to Carthaginian paganism. King Bostar the Enlightened is tutored Duke Bodstart, improving his wisdom. Friendly visit. A family friend paid a visit to Duke Bodstart's school and sends a glowing report about the heir's progress. He appears happy and healthy, and he is excited to return home and take his place in court. The future looks bright, so we can give him a gift of academic texts or send him wine for revels with his friends. Well, it sounds like he's becoming a... wait a minute. He's second in line, so isn't he becoming a general? Yeah, we'll still give him wine. Like mother, like son, you have noticed that for better or worse, Prince Balhano is showing signs of taking after his mother, Queen Consort Dido. How this influence will take shape is yet to be seen. Speaking of, I am cheating on her, so yeah, cautious opinion. Rightly so. The best leaders inspire their followers like no other. It becomes inspiring. Lovely. Time passes quickly. Prince Balhano is growing up fast and eager to learn. How would you like to educate Balhano? Let's make him a philosopher. Okay, now I am going to take a second here to refresh my tea. I don't want to make it too long, but I would, I think I just need a minute to kind of clear my head too. I'm not feeling exhausted, but I could use just a little bit of a moment for refreshment. So I'm going to run ads for a little bit. I think it's like a minute. If you've not taken a break, I know some of you just got here, but I will be back soon. So please get up, take a stretch. Don't look at the ads. Just pretend you're looking at the ads. Maybe get a drink for yourself. But whatever you do, I will be back momentarily. Enjoy the break. All right, thank you everybody for putting up with my terrible gluttony with my black tea. All right, let's get rid of that sign. I know it's quiet tonight. By the way, I still feel the need to say it. I love the soundtrack for this game, and I must stress, some of the best music in this game is actually not available on broadcast. So if you go under options, if you're a broadcaster, I highly recommend turning on recording and streaming copyright safety mode. But there's some, like if you look, even just in terms of the names on here, right? There's some really wonderful music that, and again, this is not do not take this as a complaint. The music here is truly wonderful, but as you can see, there is a lot of really wonderful music that is, something that Mohawk has paid for, but they've not paid for sort of the broadcasting rights, which is, again, completely reasonable. But with that in mind, if you only experience this game through a stream, just keep in mind that you are actually only getting a small part of that experience. One of the great rewards of the last little while is I'm an Apple One subscriber, so basically if there's an Apple service, I have it. And they finally, I suspect this was delayed, but they did release, they did finally release. Sorry, I just want a second here. Yeah, we'll tutor the philosopher. Oh, I think I messed this up. Huh. Okay, cool. I just want people to be educated. Anyways, yeah, so the Apple Music Classical, it's funny that we have this problem, but it completely makes sense. Like, if you think of music that you like, specifically classical music that you like what do you file that by? Do you file that by composer? Do you file that by performer? There's also the practical problem of how do you compensate that? Because obviously if you've got a 2-minute song that you play on repeat, you're going to make a lot more money than if you have like a 60-minute, symphony. But yeah, the Apple Music Classical at the very least handles the categorization problem by just basically providing a richer set of metadata. So, if you look for Bach, right, that's a pretty safe choice. You are given multiple recordings, and if you happen to like, a particular piece, you get your options. It's also very good for education, actually, because I remember somebody asked me a question once, what is the guy at the front, like, he's just waving his hands because he can, right? It doesn't actually do anything. And no, I can assure you that is, the conductor actually has a very real and important job. One of the best ways to illustrate that is just to play different versions of the same piece of music from different conductors, and in some cases the difference can be night and day. And then obviously having a having a service that lets you, lets you see all that stuff basically all beside each other. It's nice. So, anyways, that's been my little hobby lately. Has been listening to a lot of really good music through the Classical app. Actually, for those of you that do have access to it, and I realize not everybody likes or has access to Apple stuff, but for those of you that do have an Apple Music subscription, you will have automatic access to Classical. I believe the Classical app is only on iPhone right now. You can put it on an iPad, but it's an iPhone app that you get. But I believe if you have access to Apple Music, you will still get access to these playlists. There is a series called The Story of Classical by Guy Jones, who worked for the, I think it was called Prime Phonic before Apple bought them. And basically there's sort of a kind of a prelude. It's just a nice little introduction of everything. And the division that it does is Baroque, Classical, Romantic, early 20th century, late 20th century, 21st century, and then does Medieval and the Renaissance. I was actually very pleasantly surprised because there are definitely periods that don't quite work for me. So the only one that I found a little bit of a challenge was the late 20th century. And again, that was partly... it's for the reasons you would think. It's definitely where the avant-garde is a big a big deal. But the funny thing is that it's not. I don't dislike the. It would be wrong for me to say I dislike avant-garde music. I actually quite like the John Cage. They didn't do. Was it 433? The silent John Cage piece. The John Cage pieces they chose I actually really liked. In C was another one that I enjoyed. But definitely that was the one where there were a couple pieces where I was like, I think I kind of get what they're trying to do with this, but it's a bit too far for me. But what I was surprised by was how much I enjoyed the 21st century one, because I sort of thought that it would be really out there. But there's some really great stuff. In particular, part. I probably am pronouncing this incorrectly, but Arvo Part, I enjoyed very much. So. And then, medieval, Baroque, all that stuff that I like on its own. So, in addition to doing a very good job of introducing, in addition to introducing a lot of good ideas and interesting music, I actually found it quite educational in terms of just the commentary. I thought it was really worth watching. So. You prefer fresh fruits, not half-eaten apples? A Raspberry Pi? Duke Zushan has a new illegitimate son, Acerbis. Oh yes, that's right. I need to get some wives for my sons. Carmen, Duke Bodestart, is in the habit of composing small chants in verse that he often repeats to himself. The words you catch include the names of various gods of Carthaginian paganism and mythological figures. It is little surprise that some in the court are fearful that the young ward is cursing them. Patriarch Bomilcar the Compassionate suggests encouraging this predilection for verse, although warns that the line between lyrics and spells is a fine one indeed. Although most would use a seer if needed, the support of such practices and practitioners changes as often as the tide. So we can hire a retainer to teach Duke Bodestart the art of verse, or demand that he stop his chanting. Nope, we will hire, and he'll become a poet or a magic practitioner. I'm fascinated to see how this turns out. By the way, I saw a Raspberry Pi edition of Diablo. You could play Diablo on a series of LED lights. I'm not entirely sure why it is important that one be able to do that. I just like the fact that you are able to do that. So, as usual, I want to take care of military matters. I think I'm safe enough to go into the woods here. Actually, yeah, we'll stop there for now. Alright, so as much as I would love to put down another quarry, I feel like maybe now is the time for a couple lumber mills. You've got to heal. And again, we're doing what we can with the lumber mills first. Now, before I go any further, let's find my... Okay, so it's just Duke Zushan. And we'll marry him into the Didonian family just because we need better relations with them. So why is he third? What is my succession? Absolute cognatic ultimogeniture. Cool. I feel like I can get away with redeploying some units to the Libyan front. That is a waste of a turn. Oh, no, it's not, because I don't have anything else to do. Okay, we are getting kind of back to the state where I want things to be. There's obviously a lot of infrastructure that I need to build. We are going to need to build a settler to take this territory. We may at some point want to go to war with the Numidians, although they are, I think on paper they are weaker than us, but in practice they will be very challenging to overcome. And of course I'm going to want to build that marketplace before too long. Duke Bodestart's training in verse has only encouraged his interest in the esoteric arts, and people now speak in hushed awe of the powers of the magic practitioner. So, extra knowledge, extra charisma, negative Christianity and Manichaean opinion. However, big fan of the pagans, which is good for us because I'm pretty sure we can't have any of these religions in this scenario. Oligarch Hanno the Merchant has died. Oligarch Hasdrubal the Younger is now head of the Hanoid family. Duke Zushan is converted to Carthaginian paganism, and Navoel of Hadramentum is converted to Carthaginian paganism. A new marriage proposal from the Didonians has arrived for your son, Duke Zushan. What is your answer? So we've got Amat Milik, who is upset with me, age 28, or Batbal the Pious, age 24, probably more appropriate for Zushan. Also cautious, and lots of charisma. The court mourns. Today we grieve the death of Hanno the Merchant, a member of the Carthaginian court. His spirit will be venerated and his deeds will be remembered. The nation mourns. He served us well. Alright, so first things first, let's clear out the riffraff. We'll also heal. I'd prefer to completely heal this soldier, but this is a chance to take out an enemy unit, so I'm not going to pass that up. I believe, yeah, we can't arrange a marriage quite yet for Bodstart. Okay, so I see some sense in keeping this unit in place. All right. Now, I'm not going to lie. I'm not crazy about the fact that I'm going to be tying up my capital for another settler. But I think definitely the time has come for that work. Now, what do I do? There's definitely some careful thought I need to put into the expansion for this city. However, I do think we need to push the borders out, so we'll start by building an Odeon here. This is a good spot for lumber yards. And we can still expand out over here, so... Yeah, so I can build that range. So yeah, I am going to build lumber mills. Are we really out of stuff to do? That can't be right. Yeah, so now we start moving the units we can. This is a silly move to make. There we go. Yeah, there we go. You have completed the goal, have 7 pastures and camps. Oligarch Abdosir the Robust, governor of Hipporegius, has died in office. Oligarch Mutanbal the Younger is now head of the Didonian family. With a mild fever and a runny nose, King Bostar the Enlightened is rather ill, and King Bostar the Enlightened has tutored Duke Bodstart, improving his wisdom. The tutor mission of Astart the Scientist has led to an event. Is it Lone Jail 1? Ah, Juan, pleased to meet you. Thank you very much for stopping by. If you are looking for a Book of Hours, I'm definitely interested in doing more of it. However, that at the moment is for Fridays. But I'm very happy to have you here. Are you a fan of 4X games at all, or are you mostly interested in Cultist Simulator and similar narrative style games? I ask because there is actually an angle to this which is kind of tied to Cultist Simulator. I've been talking about Neoplatonism for the last couple of weeks, and I figure that's about as close as I can get for my own interests to reading difficult and esoteric texts full of answers to the mysteries of the world. And by the way, thank you very much for identifying yourself from YouTube. It's a delight. In fact, Takri is another refugee from YouTube. It's an absolute delight to get to meet some of the people who are our viewers. All right, so let's see what's going on here. Hands dirty. Astart and Balhano spend a dirty day in the nearby fields, digging up stones, examining soil, and sketching plants. The young student seems to have a natural affinity for agriculture. What shall Astart emphasize in her lessons? So he is a philosopher, I believe. Yeah, philosophy student. So you can become a cultivator to improve farms and groves. Delver. So mines and quarries is probably more helpful, or managing trees and forests. Ooh. You know what? I'm actually going to make him a naturalist. Whether or not he becomes a naturist is up to him. But yes, let's actually make our lumber mills more efficient. Pastures and camps built. As desired by the Hanoid family, we are raising animals for both domestic and military use. Our herds can now be found far and wide across our vast and growing territory. Excellent, we are on our way to becoming a wealthy nation. Now, this is a really tricky one for me here, right? The coinage will allow me to build the market, but in doing so I would give up the camel archer and the war elephant. The thing is, I'm reasonably confident in my ability to buy up enemy units. So I am gonna get coinage here. I can definitely see an argument for going for the free unit because I have the option to draw again. But in this case here, my focus right now is getting the epic victory. And so I want to focus on that priority and not get too distracted by military matters. We'll take care of that in the second and third scenario. After Abdozir the Robust's funeral rites, you are approached by a young man who claims to be the courtier's long-lost son. The Carthaginian pagan disciple believes that it is the god's will that he serves you as his father did before. Will you accept of Matan of Oea's service? So he is a zealot, -1 knowledge, +4 courage. It's not too happy with me. So we can make him a court soldier or turn him away. I think we'll accept him. A new court soldier, Matan has joined the court. His experience in matters of war will help keep Carthage safe. Poetry contest. Patrons of culture in Hadrumetum plan a poetry contest to sing the praises of their remarkable city. They would like their governor, Governor Himmelko the scientist, to participate. What should he do? Overcome his fears and recite his own poetry. Attend anonymously to better appreciate the beauty, or judge the lyrical merits of each entry. Now, I don't really need extra civics. However, wisdom never hurts, and then courage would be good for training military units. I think I'm going to go for the wisdom, though. So attend anonymously to better appreciate the beauty. Good news! In a surprise piece of news, you receive an update from your son, Prince Balhano. Academy scholars respect him, and the other students compete to befriend him. At the moment, Balhano is thriving. So we can encourage him to focus on scholarship, given that he is already a philosopher. By the way, I really blew this by I forgot that I had ultimogeniture. So Balhano is actually going to be the one to become the. So I putting all that effort into putting all of the effort into the eldest is totally not the right call, but that's fine. We can sort it through. And Lone Gel says, "Don't worry, 90% of the games you play are Mage Jam." Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. I do have weird tastes overall. So like to me, I don't see any contradiction at all between playing something like, an Elder Scrolls or a Cyberpunk, a Wolfenstein, a Cult Simulator, and an Old World. I will confess, my heart really is with strategy, but I don't know. Quality is in short supply. Well, actually, in games, I don't really feel like quality is in short supply, but yeah, quality is quality is not hard to. Quality is an easy thing to get into, even if it's not a genre that you normally like. But thank you, Linja. All right, so we can get him to focus on scholarship, or we can make him become affable. Now, it's actually quite helpful to get some extra growth. Yeah, I think I'll make him affable. Now that Duke Bonestart has completed his study of tactics, how shall he contribute to the court? So, as a courageous and inspiring folk icon, where he becomes a hero, or a commander, a disciplined battlefield leader, I think we're going to make him a hero. Oligarch Abdozir the Robust, governor of Hipporegius, has died in office. So let's choose a new governor. Usually I just go by stats. So Zushan is my... Oh, my apologies. I thought he was the diplomat. What are his stats? He is a diplomat. Okay. Actually, his stats aren't that bad. Our stat is also a good one because of the growth. The start's also good because of the culture. I think we're going to do Erstat first. Especially because she makes a ridiculous amount of money for us. Okay, let's get some luxuries first, and then we can worry about improving the rest of the area. So we'll build a mine first, because that'll help me out with quarries as well. For this area, I think I'm going to build the nets, especially because this is a Didonian city, so we get bonuses for sea-based trade. We don't need to worry so much about the camps anymore, so I'm going to start with nets here as well. Whoa. No, I'm not, because we've got raiders to contend with. So let's go for the mine after all. I think here I have to heal. We'll still march on the Libyans, but I do want to make sure that we deal with this riffraff. You've never played Old World, but it really seems like CK3 with a bit of Civ. You know, the interesting thing is, so the designer of this game is Soren Johnson. Actually, I don't know if Layla Johnson has a design credit. I don't, like, the worst thing that I can do, like, so the thing is, Mohawk Games is a, you know, it's not the largest company, but it's a reasonably sized company. And there's a lot of credit to go around for everyone. So there's always that mistake of just sort of pretending that games are the product of this one lone genius. But Soren Johnson is definitely a worthwhile name to mention here, because he had designed Civilization 4. I think he also did some work on Civilization 3. And so this is a return to the 4X genre from somebody who is very comfortable with it and is definitely responsible for a very influential, and one that, you know, some people would argue the best Civilization game. Again, I tend to like new stuff, so I don't have a strong feeling on the best one. The one I play the most is usually the newest. But what's interesting is that both Soren and Layla Johnson now, although at the time it was just Soren Johnson, did an interview with, what's his name? Let me just look it up. Is one of the Paradox people. Why can I not find this guy? Heinrich Faraeus. So I don't recall if he was involved with number 3 or not, but there is an interview with him on. There's definitely an interview with him on Designer Notes, and it's interesting to hear the conversation because, of course, now you get to sort of appreciate some of the things that Johnson was working on, or maybe thinking about prior to the release. This was originally called 10 Crowns, and then eventually became Old World. But yeah, it's not an unfair comparison. I definitely think the role-playing elements are quite different from Crusader. I've not played number 3, but I have played Crusader Kings 2 quite a bit. And there are actually a number of things that I really appreciate about how Old World does it compared to Crusader Kings. One of the things I actually think that Old World does very well is providing you decisions that are ones you could imagine you individually as a ruler making, even if they're not necessarily ones that are optimal from a from a long, like somebody who's playing a long succession of like basically you're making decisions as a ruler as opposed to a player of a video game, and that's actually something I really appreciate. No, I did not sort out a marriage. So we definitely want to make the Didonians happy again. There's other things that we can do to do that, but it would be wrong to say that it would definitely be wrong to say that the game is independent of Crusader Kings. I'm sure Crusader Kings had an influence. I definitely feel that this is a game that's much more consistent with sort of the strategy genre. So I do tend to notice that some of the Paradox games have a lot of how do I put it? Like, I don't want to sound mean in this, but like there is a tendency, let's say, to have I'm trying to think of a good way to put this. Like, the simulation is such that it's almost like the game is having a little bit more fun than I am. And I feel that this game never loses sight of the fact that I'm the player and the one making the interesting choices. But again, that's not intended to be a slight against Crusader Kings. It's just there's a couple things that I think really make this game sing. I'm sure there's also a couple things that drive me up the wall. I'm not very good at this, but all right, I think we'll leave that here. All right, those raiders are going to complicate things. Oh! All right, reports of a tribal raid from a Numidian outpost near Hippo Regius. And King Bostar the Enlightened has recovered from his malaise and is no longer ill. So Duke Botterstart just turned 18. We have got Ashtonat the Tactician, who's 2 years older than him, or Emilcart the Schemer. So both of them are older than him. We'll go for the youngest one. Essentially, I'm just about, pumping out heirs at this point. 4 years for coinage. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is rescue my warrior. So that's a start. Oop. We'll heal up whoever we can. This is going to cost me a lot of wood, but I am going to get the archers improved. Now, this isn't like Civ in the sense that... Actually, one thing I will say that's different about Old World is it's much more of a war game. So the idea of just having one archer unit protecting each city, that's a non-starter. So I do need to invest a little bit more in my protection, but this is at least a start. And then I'm going to keep this scout here. Well... Let's see if we can get away with this. So I'll harvest the elephants and then go to the woods. So the nice thing about this scout is that it's invisible to enemy units as long as it's inside of neutral or friendly woods. So the aim here is to try and get as much of a view on sort of enemy territory as I can while still keeping this unit safe. I think what I'll do, I'm going to put the militia... I don't like it being on the open field. So I think sticking them here... It's not the smartest thing, but at least it's a little more defensible. Alright, that's welcome. Oops. I probably shouldn't do this, but... I know that unit's going to die if I don't do it the other way. Hard to make a strategy game that makes the players stay in the now and not just plan for the future without it overwhelming the player. Yeah, it's well, it's a little bit like, I can't remember if you were the one to bring this up or not, Index Gnome, but like the idea of slavery in a game like this. Like, slavery is such a terrible and repellent concept. It's an idea that really, like, it's just one of those things that you just feel deep inside you is wrong, and like, it's one of these things where, like, who would ever play a game where you go for the slavery? Like, even in the context of having games like Crusader Kings, which are almost entirely about being as terrible as possible and, telling the stories. I mean, even in Old World, I'll still occasionally do, say the occasional cheeky line, oh, we're going to go to war with them because they've got the wrong religion or whatever. But, like, even in the context of games like that, like, just to institute slavery just feels so wrong. And yet, mechanically, right? Like this is an institution that has survived for a very long time and still is not eradicated. And so the difficulty that you have is to, like, without getting too careful, like without going too far in terms of whether or not people should even bother doing that inside of games at all. It would seem to me that you don't want to make it so enticing that you're sort of perceived as making a pro-slavery game. Although, I don't know, I don't know, like I can't conceive of a game that would be considered pro-slavery. But maybe I just haven't seen, you know, a sufficiently vicious set of games. You don't want it to be, like, I feel like there's a certain penalty that any time that option's going to come up. So, you know, if you're trying to create some sort of an experience of history, you do want to make it a viable option. And that sometimes means, you know, framing it in such a way that you get past people's sort of moral objections to the institution. And so, you know, like in that case here, like it's a bit of a balancing act, because you also don't want to make it like ridiculously overpowered in order to overcome the fact that people are not doing, because like then you go into a multiplayer game and you have an entire group of, you know, of slave owners. So yeah, it's a bit of a challenge. I think actually they handle it rather well in Old World. Like it does feel like a legitimate choice and one that has consequences. Although my own tendency is not to not pick slavery, and that's just partly of my own. Efficiency is all. I pick slavery and child labor every time that you can. Really, even in Old World. Because I think the freedom option in Old World's pretty strong. For me, at least. But then again, I'm not very good at this game, so maybe I'm just missing out on the joy of cheap labor. The Numidians present an offer promising a stable peace. Not good enough. We feel strong enough to be able to handle them, so... Although obviously we're in a little bit of trouble here. So let's, as usual... clear out the riffraff first. We want to heal you, and we'll move these guys out out a bit so we can get a view. So we've got, for instance, here we've got an enemy unit. Humping resources home. While organizing the camel train, one of our scouts correctly pointed out that the camels might as well carry some resources back with them. It should be possible to bring either a large load of food or a smaller amount of iron without slowing their progress. Now we're doing alright for both, but we have a slower rate of acquisition for iron, so we'll say we need iron. And then I'm going to move... Essentially here, this is me getting a little bit of intelligence in terms of the enemy positions. Okay, I think I'm still going to build lumber mills for the next little while. Okay, I don't have the wood for a range. I wonder if I've got laws that I haven't considered. Nope, we just haven't properly gone through the tech tree like that. Okay. This puts me in a little bit of a bind. I could buy up some trees, but I don't think that's the right call. Well, okay, there's one thing I can do here. We can cut the trees, and then we can build a range. Well, I could build the range, but why would I build it here when I can build it here and get an adjacency bonus? Leave my workers alone. Astarte the scientist has tutored Prince Balhano, improving his charisma. Duke Bostar the Enlightened has tutored Prince Balhano, improving his discipline. Dear Father, we have received an update from your son in training. He wishes to study with high masters of philosophy, whose teachings are essential to the development of the soul. However, this access comes at a price. Shall we send the necessary funds to Belhano? So no need for further study. No, you will become a great scholar for 490. We're Carthage, for crying out loud. We buy everything that we want. Okay, olives will help me get on better terms with the Hananid family, so we will build one of those groves. Am I going nuts, or did I miss? Yeah, I was off by one. Now military matters. So they've got a new unit. So first things first, we want to beat up the bad guy. This is a bit of a questionable choice, but I'm going to run ahead and then we'll redirect this warrior unit. I'm going to keep this as a scout for now. And what I can kind of do here is, so here I harvest salt. So I've got 2 moves, so I should be able to do something like this. Oh, wonderful. So this also tells me that our war with the Libyans will... So even though they had a new unit pop up, this is going to be over soon. I may even want to prepare a second settler, although it's a little early for that now. Okay, so we will tutor... I think we'll send a normal tutor. I'm wondering if I can influence the patriarch. Yes, so I want to try and get on good terms with Carthaginian paganism so I can start converting some family members. You know that you play a lot of Stellaris, and I've never slaved even once, although I'm kind of trigger happy when it comes to orbital bombard. Yeah, and this is the weird thing, right? Like, there are some things... This is why I find it kind of funny. Like, it's an uncomfortable topic to talk about, so, like, I always want to be sort of sensitive about people's feelings on this sort of stuff. But like, what is so interesting is that there are some actions which are equally intolerable that we don't really think twice about doing in a game, in any context. And yet there are some things that we feel just so strongly about that, like, there's no possible way we're ever going to pick like that certain bad one. And I'll be honest with you, I have absolutely no way, I have no real conception of how to say, oh yeah, this is the good one and this is the bad one. Like, sometimes you feel good about one option and you don't feel good about another one, and that's really all that you can say about it. And like, maybe that's enough, right? But it is very funny, like in some game. Like, actually, a game that sort of deals with this is Into the Breach, right? So I think one of the original ideas for Into the Breach, according to Subset, was they would sort of watch these like mech stories and the city, or like superhero stories, and the city would be utterly obliterated, right? It's almost like the opening moments to Team America World Police for, you know, people who like old movies. And nobody thinks twice about it. Like, it's just, yeah, that's what you do, right? You know, you're playing the giant stompy robots, and I needed to get this thing done, and like, nobody's questioning this idea of this catastrophic damage that's been done to the city's infrastructure, you know, as the fight is happening and the buildings are being destroyed. So they introduced the power mechanic and this idea of trying to save the buildings rather than use them as, you know, as scenery or as you know, or as like an environmental damage effect. But like, even too, again, I'm gonna sound like, well, if you like Soren Johnson so much, why don't you marry him? But like, there's a talk that he gave in terms of like what the game is about as opposed to the subject, which seems a bit of a weird distinction, but we talked about this a couple of weeks before, in the idea of how I actually think to a certain extent the business sim is probably an older genre than even something like the war game for computers. Obviously a lot of early computer games were essentially adaptations of war games, but and war games are obviously a much longer tradition than computer war games. But in fact, H.G. Wells wrote a book on miniature wargaming. This big old nerd. But yeah, like there are so many games that are business sims, even though you wouldn't necessarily think that they're about business, right? So the example I like to take is Jurassic Park games. Now there are Jurassic Park games which are not business sims, but certainly one of the most high profile and successful ones is in fact the Frontier development one, Jurassic Park Evolution. So you take this subject of dinosaurs, right? Something that pretty much, if not everyone, I want to say at least all of the boys will like who wasn't interested in dinosaurs? And that's such a sexist thing to say, like, because I know actually one of the biggest dinosaur fanatics I've met is actually Packy Perfect through Brace Yourself Games. Her name, Packy Perfect, is a reference to Pachycephalosaurus. So it's like, obviously dinosaurs are a really interesting subject, and yet one of the most successful adaptations of that subject is the one that turns you into John Hammond, the Richard Attenborough character. Now this is an interesting one, right? So Ark is not entirely a business. Like this is the thing, right? You can twist the idea of the business sim into any kind of resource management, and at that point it ceases to be a useful distinction. But yeah, like, so I'm obviously limiting myself to Jurassic Park adaptations. Clearly there are other dinosaur games that are not business sims. But again, just in terms of this big intellectual property, like the setting of Jurassic Park is this theme park, at least the first one. But like, it's not like it's about the difficulty of running the theme park. That is a narrative device to get a bunch of people in the same place as a bunch of dinosaurs, and to not have the option of just flipping out a cell phone and saying, hey, can you pick us up? So actually I'm just going to take a second here. Jurassic. Holy crap, there was an NES video game. I didn't realize it was that old. I've kind of lost the point here, but just out of curiosity. Jurassic Park video games. Numerous video games based on the Jurassic Park franchise have been released. Developers Ocean Software, Blue Sky Software, and Sega produced various games in 1993, coinciding with the first film, Jurassic Park. In 1997, several developers, including DreamWorks Interactive and Appaloosa Interactive, introduced various games for 9 different platforms to coincide with the release of the film The Lost World Jurassic Park. For the 2001 film, Jurassic Park 3, a total of 7 games were produced, including 3 for the Game Boy Advance and 3 PC games. A park building game, Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, was released in 2003. I did not know that. Jurassic Park the Game, released in 2011, takes place after the events of the first film. Lego Jurassic World was released in 2015 and is based on the first 4 films. Subsequent games have continued to use the Jurassic World name, including Jurassic World Evolution, another park-building game that was released in 2018. A number of other video games not directly based on any of the films have also been released in 1994. You only have 2,000, so now you feel like a fake fan. Yeah, I'm curious. 8,000 is a long time. Let's actually work out the... Let's work out... so you said 8,200 hours in ARC divided by 24. So that is almost a full year in ARC. Okay, precious metals. In a stroke of good luck. Yeah, anyways, sorry. But yeah, so like the thing, like, so would you say Jurassic Park, Jurassic World Evolution, like, is that about dinosaurs? Is that about business management? You know, there's a lot of things that are business management games that are not about business. So, anyways. In a stroke of good luck, a cache of precious metals have been discovered in the new mine near Leptis Magna. How should we use this unexpected boon? Add it to the treasury or beautify the city? Definitely beautify the city. I mean, 500 is just another turn worth of money, which is not nothing, but not the sort of thing I would want to... Not the sort of thing I would want to pass up improvement to culture on. Okay, I don't exactly need more stone at the moment. If anything, I need more wood. Actually, with that in mind, let's build another lumber mill. I think I am going to build quarries all along the edge of this here. We've already got the special resources, so I'm okay with that. Might be nice to have some more... specialized districts, but... Or, sorry, urban districts, but I'm okay with some basic resource acquisition. We definitely want to heal first, and what I should have been doing before anything else is beating up the bad guys. There we go. Leave my worker alone. So we're gonna just keep them in place for the next little while. I am reluctant to build another settler right now, but... Yeah, you know what? Okay, let's clear out my citizens first, and then we'll build a new settler, because it is going to take us a while to claim that last area. So... okay, first of all, let's go nuts for treasuries. So the next question is, can I expand my borders? Yes. Then the next question is, what else do we need? So I definitely feel like officers are a good plan here. I think we'll leave it there. There's definitely other improvements that I would like, but let's see what we get before we go too much further. Okay, one more year for coinage. Something's got to give as far as urban improvements. But a market, I believe, will help the hamlet. No! Patriarch Bomilcar the Compassionate has died. Matriarch Thaubabath the Tactician is now head of Carthaginian paganism. Governor Himilco the Scientist, governor of Hadrimentum, has died in office, severely ill, coughing up bloody mucus and suffering from sharp pains in her chest. Queen Consort Dido fears that she does not have much time left. And Osmalek the Younger has died. Okay, so we were okay, actually Manor will help us out here. So I was originally going to try and, well, I guess I don't really need to redraw anyway, but Manor is what gives me my last improvement. Today we grieve the death of Himilco the Scientist, a member of the Carthaginian court. His spirit will be venerated and his deeds will be remembered. The nation mourns. He served us well. A friendly warning. A messenger from the Numidians is brought before the court, asking to see you urgently. He rode in such haste that his horse collapsed in exhaustion upon reaching the city stables. This unusual rush is to bring you a warning from Queen Dasin that a band of Numidians is about to set out on a raid against our lands, and that they would not listen to reason. Dasin was unable to prevent the raid, but wishes to offer us assistance in repelling the raiders as a gesture of lasting friendship between Carthage and the Numidians. So we can graciously accept the help for extra training, or Dasin has our thanks, but Carthage is capable of defending itself. I'm going to say we're capable of defending ourselves. Reports of a tribal raid from a Numidian outpost near Hipporegius. Philosophy studies. Now that Prince Balhano has completed his study of philosophy, how shall he contribute to the court? So he can become a builder or a scholar. I'm definitely going to go for scholar again, because he will probably be the next ruler. Strong opinions. While passing the chambers of your son, Prince Balhano, you overhear him criticizing the court, specifically your leadership. Interrupting politely, you offer to explain your choices and educate him in the challenges of governing. Skeptical, Prince Balhano listens to your philosophy. So the people are ours to rule as we see fit. You must try to seek justice for everyone, and he'll become a judge instead. Or all that matters is how you will lead. So he'll gain charisma. Yeah, we'll give him the extra charisma. Paying our dues. The time has come again for Carthage to send tribute to Tyre. What shall our next shipment consist of? Again, produce we haven't really been using. Dido's rasping breath shudders uneasily through the room, a clear sign that your spouse is close to death. Sensing that you are losing hope, Oligarch Hasdrubal the Younger comes to you with a local folktale. He speaks of an adventure where the hero walks into death to save his love. Hasdrubal has studied the stories and is ready to perform the ritual used by the hero, but there is a cost. It requires that the hero is sacrificed so he can enter the lands of the dead. So I can offer myself as a sacrifice, send one of your servants to take your place, or refuse to partake in the ritual. Nope. Through the fire. And this does have a Wikipedia entry associated with it, so... Heroism of Alcestis. The great aid Apollo gave to Admetus was persuading the fates to reprieve Admetus of his fated day of death. According to Aeschylus, Apollo made the fates drunk, and the Fades agreed to reprieve Admetus if he could find someone to die in his place. Admetus initially believed that one of his aged parents would happily take their son's place of death. When they were unwilling, Alcestis instead died for Admetus. The scene of the death is described in Euripides' play Alcestis, where Thanatos, the god of death, takes Alcestis to the underworld. As Alcestis descends, Admetus discovers that he actually does not want to live. I think my wife's fate is happier than my own, even though it may not seem so. No pain will ever touch her now, and she has ended life's many troubles with glory. But I, who have escaped my fate, ought not to be alive. Shall now live out my life in sorrow. The situation was saved by Heracles, who rested at Phere on his way towards the man-eating mares of Diomedes. Heracles was greatly impressed by Admetus' kind treatment of him as a guest, and when told of Admetus' situation, he entered Alcestis' tomb. He repaid the honor Admetus had done to him by wrestling with Thanatos until the god agreed to release Alcestis, and then led her back into the mortal world. According to other accounts, Persephone, queen of the underworld, instead brought Alcestis back to the upper world. Oligarch Hasdrubal the Younger guides you through the stages of the ritual, grinding down a series of herbs that you do not recognize into a thick paste. The sludge-like mixture is sour on your tongue, but there is little time for such thoughts. Visions of the lands of the dead fill your senses, and you fall before Pluton and ask the god to allow you to take Dido's place. In your dreams, Pluton is moved by your sacrifice and decrees that you can both leave. When you wake, Queen Consort Dido is sitting by your bed, the picture of perfect health. My Dido has arrived. Has returned. Himilco, on the other hand, died in office. So, again, I'm reluctant to lose science here. So why does he give unhappiness? Ah, he's upset. So in theory, I could make him... If I could make him happy, he'd be a good choice. Surely there's a way of doing current governors. Nope. Okay, we'll try and make things a little bit more friendly between us. All right, let's try and put this settlement to bed. I'm kind of leaving this guy out to dry, but... Sadly, Hippo Regius needs to work on another worker. I hope this works. So we've got 33 years to build another market. Or sorry, to build the market, so that should be done. That we've got plenty of time, even if it doesn't turn out. Settlers wondering what's taking so long to get this site. What do we do with you? Oh, hang on. Let's just double check what a market gives us. So, gives a bonus for adjacent harbor. Class approved. Well, I guess we don't have any harbors, so... So I guess here I can afford to put down a range. Yeah, and we've got 11... we've got 11 orders left, so this is another example where I either have a military that's too small or not enough workers. Duke Bonstart, your son is converted to Carthaginian paganism. Astarte the scientist has tutored Prince Valhano, improving his discipline. In all things, there is no such thing as magic, or at least no one such thing as magic. The people of Carthage use small superstitions every day as they go about their lives. But the same people who use these services are the first to turn against the person they don't understand. Astarte the scientist has been leading the charge against practitioners like Duke Bodstart, claiming that the idea of magic wields far too much power among the masses. So we can speak out about the moral corruption of studying occult lore. I become intolerant. Or the power is nothing to be feared, which unfortunately will cause some difficulty. I think we'll say nothing to be feared, though. Oh, okay, we're going to change that up a little bit. So I'm trying to maximize the damage. Oh, nuts. Okay, well, we'll force march it because it gives us another site. The core of the defeated Libyan forces is made up of escaped gladiators, highly trained slaves, and former soldiers. Marsaget, the Libyan, is the gladiators' leader, and while vulgar, he knows power when he sees it. He bows to the throne. Let us fight for you. Very well, your swords are ours, so we gain charisma, and we also get a warrior. You are more valuable to us as labor, or such leadership should not be wasted. I think I actually want more units, so... So obviously, this is all just prep for the next batch of soldiers. Happy to march on the next the next city. It's not really obvious which site I should go for. I think this is probably the preferable of the two. And we still need you to heal. Wow. Yeah, we're really wasting resources this way. Okay, well, we'll end the year. News arrives from abroad that Mada the Libyan is dead. Queen Penthesilea now leads the Libyans. Oligarch Zramod of Carthage has died. Duke Zushan of Carthage is now head of the Maganid family. Hannibal the Younger has died, and Duke Bodshart has given birth to a son, Duke Rabi. And you've successfully exerted your influence upon Governor Baelbad the Younger, who is cautious of me now. So hopefully that will prevent the unrest from going up. The Hananid clan are ascendant. Their ambition to construct the world's greatest markets in Carthage has brought unprecedented wealth to our capital city. Our reputation for producing and trading the most exotic specialized goods will be spread to every corner of the entire Mediterranean region. The Hananid clan was right. With this grand market, we are poised to become the hub of the entire Mediterranean trading culture. So only one more goal left, and that's the professional army, which we'll be getting in 5 turns. Now, there is a port. I think probably the pearls are better here, though, so we'll go for Didonian City for this one, and then we will put down Hananid City over here. Okay, so Bostar is idle, and at this point I want to try and get on good terms with the head of Carthaginian paganism, so we will influence this person. I'm building a lot of ranges, it seems. I don't think another lumber mill hurts, although this isn't the best place for it. We can definitely afford more quarries. Speaking of. Oh yeah, I should probably be doing the war stuff. Oh no, I don't need to do the war stuff. There's no war stuff to do. Well, I can, like, march, but that's maybe not quite the move I want to do right now. We don't have the laws for a stronghold. I think I can settle for a grocer, though. Yeah, so what we'll do here is I'm going to heal everyone first. Well, move them up and then heal. And then I don't think it would hurt to start giving some generals to the relevant units. I'd like to upgrade these guys, but I definitely need more wood. Okay, so this is a good example of a unit that's due for a general. So Duke Bodastart's good call. I believe he is he's a hero. So, and as usual, we start with a worker. Probably want to get a slinger earlier on. Noea. So olives are definitely a good start. And Hadrumentum. I don't think there's really a way for me to expand my territory with these, so I'm not opposed to building... Oh, no, I can't build a byreme because I don't have the wood. So I think I will get an apprentice officer for a start. Prince Belhano has converted to Carthaginian paganism. The Numidians present an offer promising a stable peace. Do we approve? I'll still say not good enough. We're probably not going to go to war with them, but I want to keep the option open. Matriarch Thubath, the tactician, has found a number of potential recruits for the court. She presents you the most promising two before you. Are either of the candidates worthy of joining the court? So we can get a court minister. Now, we're already doing well for civics. It's kind of hard to say we don't need money, though, so let's recruit the merchant. A new court merchant, Kodmush, has joined the court. His keen attention to economic affairs will help Carthage prosper. Alright, there's a lot of things that I'm going to want to do. So, first of all, I'm going to go for the elephants, because that'll help me with orders. We're going to march on the Libyans, so, and I want to add a general where I can. So again, I'm waiting for the wood to upgrade. Oh, wow. We're really cranking through the turns. Well, again, we only need 4 years to get the professional army law, which is what I'm really aiming for here, so... Reports of a tribal raid from a Numidian encampment near Carthage. Oligarch Zushan of Carthage, your son and Batfall the Pious have given birth to a son, Duke Maribal. Duke Bodgedart the Besieger will do whatever it takes to get what he wants. He's ruthless, and you've successfully exerted your influence upon Matriarch Thubath the Tactician, but appear weak in the process. Prominent local leaders of Takape wish to host a seasonal festival celebrating national values. What should be the festival's theme? So through the state, all things are possible. Again, we're overdoing it on civics, so we'll go knowledge and science are the future. That just knocked off a year. The import and export business. Oligarch Zushan of Carthage strides into your chambers late one evening, his cloak waving behind him. I've simply heard the best news. You are familiar with Leptis Magna? Well, the city has been growing like grass, and they're looking to expand their industries. I thought I'd clue you in and see if you wanted to invest in one of our little ventures. As he lays out the details of the various operations, you've decided to support which operation. So, expedite the approval of elephants on military grounds, support the discovery of salts, and provide the capital, or I love the idea for crabs, but I'll have to do it on credit. This already has access to elephants. So, I support the discovery of salts and will provide the capital. Queen Dasin, the ruler of the Numidians, invites you on a hunting expedition where politics and deal-making may be on the agenda. She wishes to spend the day with you alone, but the court is concerned for your safety. It is not proper for a ruler to attend private meetings when so much is at stake. So you can say, Dasin and I will meet alone, and that reduces my wisdom. I will bring Balhano so that he may learn politics. I demand protection with my full guard unit, or I refuse the invitation. I think we're already lovers. Yep, so we'll meet alone. Enchanting conversation. Oh, great! I'm getting busy this year. During a royal feast, you share an enchanting conversation with one of your minor courtiers. The wine flows freely as the two of you talk late into the night. The revelry comes to a close, but your companion lingers on as the rest of the guests depart. So, a ruler needs his rest, or let us see where the night takes us. Obviously what happened with the worker is changing my... Aegis Sound Deer, how you doing? We're getting close to the end tonight, but glad to see you. Obviously what happened to my workers made me change my approach in terms of the raids. And in fact, we've got the money, so I'm going to hire a bunch of skirmishers here. This is going to be expensive, but... yeah, that still leaves me 200 left over. And I'm idle, so there's a few things that I want to do, but let's start by... So I want to convert the... Nope. Oh. She's not yet pleased. Okay, so priest cannot be a general, governor, or courtier. Chance to become a religion head. Bonus opinion from paganism. Cool. No, hang on. That's for the character, I think. Let's look at the opinion. Press F1. Okay. Clergy can be sent to quell dissent in cities with religious dissent of their religion. Having clergy in your court also gives you an opinion bonus to their religion. Okay, no, so... an impious priest. Why not? Let's bring Hanby in first. I don't want somebody who's too upset with me as a start. Okay, we're still waiting to upgrade this guy. We'll definitely be waiting to upgrade this guy. I can empty my treasury to hire them, but frankly it's easier to just kill them. Okay, miner's a good start, then some walls, then a treasury, and hopefully by then the elephants will be ready. So I suppose I can send the king to make nice with the Didonians. And again, my civics are being completely wasted right now, so... Oligarch Zushan of Karthacht has a new illegitimate son, Malachus. Well, okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one. Unwilling to put effort into anything, Prince Balhano is slothful. Fruitful affair. 9 months ago, the morning after a great royal feast, you woke up next to one of your minor courtiers. The affair was short, but fruitful. Your new child cannot inherit the throne, but it will surely be a blessing to your household. This is a blessing to all, and unfortunately I'm now estranged from my wife, who, in fairness, has been putting up with a lot lately, but I did bring her back from death, so I feel this balances everything out. I don't even know what to do with this worker right... Well, no. There's clearly room for quarries. Now, this is a bit of a danger because of where the raider is, but we'll deal with that momentarily. I do want to make sure that my workers are taken care of first. Okay, we can upgrade one. So I know there's a special general's ability when you're a hero, but I think that's only when you're the leader. so we can definitely wipe this one out. Yeah, so we're not going to have to worry about the Libyans for too much longer. This means I need to get a settler built sooner rather than later. In fact, we're probably just not going to be able to get the settle. We're probably not going to have to worry about the settler at all. So let me just double check that there's nothing else that I need to do here, because I think the next nope, here we go. Apprentice officer's done. So I think master officer is the obvious next step here. So I want to protect my builders first. So, not great, that's definitely raising the discontent, but... Oligarch Muntbal the Younger, General of the Warrior, has died in the field. Duchess Consort Ashtonat, the Tactician, your daughter-in-law, is now head of the Didonian family. Hanby the Builder has been inducted into the clergy and becomes a priestess. So it's been a while since we've had a choice in terms of... in terms of improvements. I'm actually slightly inclined towards rhetoric or aristocracy because of my ability to apply a law. In fact, centralization seems like a good one here. So I'm actually going to do aristocracy first. Professional army or volunteers. We want professional army because of the goal. So Carthage is in need of a decision regarding its military training. Some in court support the creation of a professional army, while others wish to rely on volunteers to fight. What is our decision? Lasting security is bought with gold. You have completed the goal, adopt a law professional army, and Carthage has won an epic victory. Crowds gather near the great harbor of Carthatched to hear you speak. The Carthaginian nation has met every goal it sought to pursue over the past century, from humble beginnings, striking out at local oppressors, to a burgeoning empire with aspirations of dominating the whole of the Mediterranean Sea and beyond. No obstacle has proven able to slow our advance. Soon our navies will venture forth to establish our hegemony over all of the world's great sea trading lanes. Our reward will be wealth beyond imagining. So there's a few options here. So we've got show me how this came to pass, show me how history will remember these times. I wish to look around and savor my victory. The momentum of this victory will carry us on to new adventures, or my work is done for now, the campaign can continue for later. So let's watch how this came to pass. I always like the time lapses like this. I know it's kind of inside baseball for you know, if you haven't been watching the whole thing, but it is kind of fun to watch you blob out. This is also very different from how I played the last time. So the last time we actually owned pretty much every settlement in North Africa, but this time we had a very heavy focus on trade. So Dido the Founder, who was it? Malchus the Brilliant, and Bostar the Enlightened. Unless you got another title. Now, one of the things that's interesting about this is you can actually continue the save into a future playthrough. So it's always nice to take a look at the stats. I tend to like... Oh, right, because I was only up against... I was really only up against enemy units. So these aren't always as interesting and isolated. Like, I love the fact that they include this this information. It's very helpful for getting a read as to whether or not I've achieved some of the goals that I wanted, but maybe it's not as important right now. I'm going to go stay in the game for now. Let the Sacred Band of Carthatched be initiated. This corps of professional soldiers will form the backbone of our defense. They will train our militias. They will oversee the arming of our citizenry, to be called upon in time of need, and yet otherwise left to conduct their daily lives as they see fit. We will build a martial tradition that our enemies shall learn to fear. So what I want to do here is just make sure that I'm saving... Nope. Where's the epic victory screen? No! There we go. We'll go to the campaign menu. I'm not ready. I'm already half an hour past the proper finish time, and I definitely have some stuff to get through, but we completed Oxhide, so the next step is going to be Riches and Influence. Continue the Rise of Carthage campaign by leading Carthage in its expansion in the Mediterranean. As Tyre, the mother city, is besieged by Babylonian forces, the time has come for Carthage to become the most powerful and richest Phoenician civilization. You may import a save file from completing the previous scenario, Oxhide. If you import a save, some of your choices from the previous scenario will be preserved. Family assignment and some city improvements will be carried forward, and you may encounter events related to your actions in the previous scenario. So rules for Game 2, Riches and Influence. Technologies are more expensive. Settlers rapidly increase in cost as you build them. Carefully consider whether settling a new city helps you achieve your game's goals. You have access to the Sacred Band and Balearic City Slingers, history-inspired units unique to the campaign, and complete 6 goals to achieve a bronze victory, 8 goals for a silver victory, and if you complete 10 goals, you will earn a gold victory. Complete all goals for an epic victory. And then eventually we're going to go on to the Rise of Rome. Now this is the one that I ended on previously. So Carthage has withstood unending waves of chaos and bloodshed in the Mediterranean. Now Rome rises as a new threat. Can you guide Carthage to rule the seas, defend its cities on land, and achieve a victory against the Rise of Rome? You may import a save file from completing the previous scenario, Riches and Influence. If you import a save, some of your choices from the previous scenario will be preserved. Family assignment and some city improvements will be carried forward, and you may encounter events related to your actions in the previous scenario. In this scenario, you're fighting a war against a powerful opponent. Historically, Carthage lost the war, and accordingly, this scenario is more challenging than the first two. Some goals may be very tough to accomplish. Rules for Game 3, Rise of Rome. Technologies are more expensive. You cannot settle new cities. You have access to Sacred Band and Balearic Slingers, history-inspired units that are unique to the campaign. You will remain at war with Rome until the bitter end, and you will need to maintain naval dominance to anchor ships. Your naval dominance is displayed below the goal counters. To maintain naval dominance, build more ships or strengthen existing ones. And then 6 goals for bronze victory, 8 for silver, 10 for gold, and 12 for epic victory. I'd be very surprised if I get away with an epic victory there. Finally, Seizing Destiny, and I've never even looked at this one because I haven't completed number 3. 2 decades have barely passed since the previous war, and now Carthage finds herself at war with Rome again. This time, Carthage has an advantage, the great Hannibal Barca, a military commander of skill never seen in history. You may import a save file from completing the previous scenario, Rise of Rome. If you import a save, some of your choices from the previous scenario will be preserved, family assignments, some city improvements will be carried forward, and you may encounter events related to your factions in the previous scenario. In the scenario, you're fighting a war that historically ended in a total defeat for Carthage. Accordingly, the scenario offers a significant challenge, and some goals may be very tough to complete. Only scenario-specific technologies are available to research. You cannot settle new cities. Some of your cities can build mercenary units like Qatari and Numidian cavalry. They're quick to build, but cost money. You will remain at war with Rome until the bitter end. You can only anchor near your capital and near Iberia until further notice. Hannibal Barca is a uniquely powerful general. Make good use of his abilities. And then with the there's Heroes of the Aegean, which added 6 new scenarios, although I found Rise of Macedon to be quite challenging. So there's a lot to learn in Old World. I'm maybe not necessarily going to be sticking with it all the way through, I may change it up because Against the Storm is fun and Terra Invicta is fun. There's lots of different things that I'm interested in from Hooded Horse, but all of those are good Monday games at minimum. So just a word about the rest of the plans for the week. Wednesday will be a brace yourself game day. I'm actually not 100% sure what I'm going to try. There's a side of me that would like to do Phantom Brigade. However, I believe there has been an update to Godless, and it has been a while since I've done Godless, so it would be nice to take a look at what's improved in that game since we last looked at it. And then finally, for those of you who are fond of Book of Hours, I'm going to be returning to that on Friday. However, I did say that I wanted to play that game like more than just once a week. So if I can, I would very much like to. Sorry, I'm just trying to find somebody to host tonight. If I can, I would like to either try and do on Tuesday or Thursday a new another Book of Hours stream. Obviously, tomorrow is Tuesday, so we'll see whether or not that turns out. But one way or another, I'm going to do my best to show off a new a bit more of Book of Hours. And as always, if you missed the previous episodes, I'm not going to lie, I kind of sucked in the previous episode. I talked too much, but like not in a good way. So I'll try to make that a little bit better. But anyways, thank you everybody for watching, and I don't have an Old World stream to host. However, I do notice that Dendrian is doing some more Graveyard Keeper, and actually only had one person watching him when I last checked, so I would love it. He definitely is deserving of more viewers, so if you can hang out and watch it. For those of you that haven't seen Graveyard Keeper, it's basically Stardew Valley for goths. I've not actually played Stardew Valley, but and Dendrian has been a very nice member of the channel. He's hung out. We sometimes talk about math, sometimes talk about finance. I believe he works in finance. He cannot say, he's got a few NDAs and such, so I assume that he's doing something awesome. But anyways, it's nice to be able to support some people who are equally supportive. I also believe he just recently started streaming, and he's also a good... I feel like he's a good option to watch for those of you who just kind of like watching, like having stuff on in the background. So in any case, whether you are here for Old World, and I'll see you in a week, or whether you're here for whatever I do, I will at minimum see you on Wednesday, and hopefully I'll see you before that, because that means I will have an opportunity to do more Book of Hours. Until next time.